Hello and welcome to the Overwatch Pacific Championship. We're into week 9, day 3. It's blank day. I'm Kevin Everett Walker. Joined with me is Matt Pixie and Matt Smite Ross. It's going to be a good one. I cannot wait. Blank's back to back. They're up against AHQ and Machi home side on both.
And after yesterday's series against Flash Wolves, we really feel like this is the one team kind of within striking distance of them, but they do desperately need to pick up these 2 wins to kind of prove that.
Because as you can see, they got 3-0'd by Flash Wolves yesterday, so they've got to come back with a vengeance.
Well, let's take a look at their competition today. They've already dropped down to Flash Wolves, and the next one up above blank are, of course, AHQ Esports, who themselves got 0-3 by Flash Wolves earlier this weekend, so it will still be a very tough match. And after coming off the Flash Wolves game, we kind of said AHQ and blank, it's the next one to watch.
Absolutely will be. And they're very interesting in that Flash Wolves and AHQ pose just slightly different challenges in terms of who specifically you need to shut down. We did touch a bit on that yesterday, but never mind that. It's blank
Let's take
time.
a look at this. There it is, an assortment of Blank's best moments in the competition so far, including Atar's 4 or 5 kill on the pool with the Genji dash resets. We have Kiki's Diva Bomb in there as well. Going to have a few words from the coaches as well, Serenity and Nito.
今天由于是主场日，我们先邀请我们的 Blink Esports 的教练 Serenity 来先跟大家讲几句话。
今天是我们主场日，我们今天比赛完之后也会有一些活动，请大家。
Today is our home day.
我们也会有一个问答，然后
after we finish up,
抽奖品。
we're going to have some
请期待那个比赛完之后和大家见面。
activities with the fans. You can come and do a Q&A with us. We look forward to meeting all the fans today.
闪光公仔哦，非常的就是精美。好，接下来轮到我们的客场队伍 HQ 的教练，来有什么话想要对我们的 Blink Esports 说吗？
好，那因为其实每次访问都被观众们说很官腔，那今天我就来点不一样好了。那因为其实蛮多人都说我们是反派角色，就我们 HQ 是反派角色，所以就是因为这几天其实一直下雨嘛，那我看 Brinker 其实每次到会场的时间都有点偏晚，可能是比较累。那今天我们会让你们早点回家。
Alright, so Coach Nito says, you know, it's raining outside, and you know, Blank usually start quite late in the day. So now that we're starting early, we're going to give a reason for Blank to go home early as well.
Ooh, right. And I see. Go home in the rain. That's quite a mild threat, all things considered. Like, yeah, I'm going to make you walk home in bad weather. I take that. But you know what? Maybe that's like a really big thing in their culture. I don't know. But I was kind of going at something before, and I suppose I want to come back to it because yesterday in the series against Flash Wolves, we talked about how well they were shutting down Zonda and denying Bacon Jack Rooms and Mover. And I can kind of compare the two to Dizzy and Shylin as well, in that you need to shut down. Sorry, it's not even Shylin. It's It's actually various people. That's another note there. Actually, the Tracer is quite a lot of different people on HQ, depending on what comp they're running. They're much more flexible. It's not just put Bacon Jack on it. But Dizzy compared to Zonda, much harder to shut down if you specifically dive onto him, but you don't need to put as much work into denying the Tracer the space as you do with Bacon Jack. So I want to see if Blank can actually kind of get that balance right, because if they do the exact same thing, they're going to fail to shut down Dizzy, and they're going to look like they're spending way too much time shutting down an ineffectual Tracer.
Now, of course, Blank are still on a bit of a losing streak against both AHQ and Flash Wolves, so this is their last opportunity to take a match off one of these two teams in the final round robin. Now, we also saw yesterday, Smite, that AHQ this whole weekend actually has had a pretty poor run against Flash Wolves. So did Blank, but Blank looked pretty promising against them last night. Now, how do you feel about the matchup going in today?
Well, going in today as well, AHQ, like you mentioned, they've looked a little bit more poor than they have in previous weeks. And even last week, I believe it was last week, where they dropped an entire series to Hong Kong Attitude as well. This is, I've got to say, probably the weakest we've seen AHQ in a very long time, especially since the second round robin where they did go undefeated. So if Blank have ever got a shot at taking down AHQ again, it's going to be tonight. It's on their home day as well. I mean, can you ask for a better set of matches to get 2 home games in a row as well?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is we talked yesterday as well about Blank's sort of more recent upward trajectory. They do seem to have sorted out a lot of what was going wrong, a lot of what caused the losses against the likes of AHQ and Flash Wolves in the last 2 round robins. So with that being pretty much fixed up now, and it really does. Even though they lost, they had the best showing anyone's actually had against Flash Wolves since they started looking dominant. So you do almost feel like this is AHQ possibly at their weakest in Blank, probably at the strongest they've been for quite a while now.
Absolutely, and let's take a look at the standings as well. Flash Wolves leading the way 21-3, and those 3 losses have only come at the hands of Blank and AHQ, and 1 to Machi as well. AHQ trailing behind 18-5. Blank the challengers 17-5. Of course, Hong Kong Attitude 11-10. Machi 11-11, who will be playing Blank after AHQ. And then, of course, Fireball 7-14, Detonator 3-18, and Sun Sister still on 0-22. And that's something interesting in there as well, is that Machi will be the next team going up against Blank.
An interesting thing here, by the way, the moment Blank win a single game this entire round robin, both Hong Kong Attitude and Machi are mathematically eliminated. It will no longer be possible for them to make playoffs. The moment Blank win a game. And for Machi, I think that's especially terrifying, right? Because you don't even have a say in that until your game after they've played AHQ. So even if Blank do win their game against AHQ right now, Machi, not only do they have to come up against a Blank on a hot streak, they come up against a Blank who has just eliminated them from playoffs. That's going to be a really hard match if it falls that way.
Yeah, it will be. And of course, if AHQ actually end up beating Blank, Blank will be going up against Machi, and Machi themselves will take fate into their own hands a little bit, which is a kind of a nice story in there as well. A
bit of a nerve-wracking day for them.
As well as match 3, Fireball versus Machi, and then match 4, Hong Kong Attitude versus Detonator Gold. But let's get into the lineups. We have Blank coming up first. You know them, you love them already. And of course, their challengers, AHQ Esports Club. Kerry's back on, Ilios still on the bench.
Yeah, it's been, I think, one good shake-up for them, and they have actually looked good since that return. We haven't seen much of it yet, and unfortunately the hardest match with that was against Flash Wolves, and they still weren't quite able to get it over the line. But they do look actually a little bit better than their more recent shaky shape, where they had that loss against Hong Kong Attitude and stuff like that.
Something about Blank, we just saw Atar on screen, is that he is playing a lot more Soldier, even on control, and as you guys have been saying, Blank have been on the upswing. They've been improving, and I think a lot of it has come down to Atar, and his Soldier is just so much more consistent in getting the job done.
Atar's definitely been stepping up for me as well. He was kind of noted as a little bit of a weak link a few weeks ago, but this time, as we saw in the Flash Wolves matchup, he had a series of very good runs, specifically on the Soldier. He's still got the Genji in the back pocket. He still has the Pharah in the back pocket as well. Now, talk to me a little bit about AHQ, because they also brought that triple DPS against Flash Wolves.
So this is one of their main Tracer players here on your screens for a moment. There was Cowman. It tends to be that he goes on to that Tracer, but funnily enough, more recently they have actually been putting Dizzy on that Tracer. When they run triple DPS, often it's not even Dizzy on the Soldier, and we saw that just last week, right? They have suddenly got this interesting kind of versatility, and by the way, when it is Dizzy on Tracer, you can see there Lazy Titan picks up the Soldier, and that is giving them a lot of room to maneuver, but at the same time, and I touched on this before, I really don't feel like right now they have a Tracer that is on the level of players like Bacon Jack and Eat You Up and Shaolin.
And that's very important to notice as well, because so far the Tracers have had extreme magnitudes of impact on the game. You've seen how close it was the Flash Wolves versus Blank game. As soon as one of the Tracers was taken out of the competition, whether through a death or just had to back off due to low health, the other one had a really good run themselves. So AHQ, they do like that. AHQ now, however, after picking up triple DPS themselves, do look a little bit more flexible. And Lazy Titan is kind of the player I want to be able to highlight there, because we noted him as one of the strongest divas in the competition. Now he's got a Soldier in the back pocket too. He has that Widowmaker as well that he kind of brings out here and there.
And here's the thing though, right? Last time these teams played off against each other, Blank versus AHQ, Blank just hit a brick wall against a triple tank composition coming up from AHQ in the majority of their maps. That may not be the case tonight, as evidence from last night where AHQ seemed to be more comfortable running triple DPS, but Now that they're going up against Blank, they may adapt. They may change back to their triple tank lineup, which has given Blank so many problems before. So it's going to be about what they prioritize, whether they've been practicing one single comp lately in the triple DPS, or whether they're trying to expand their compositions that they can run.
And on the other side of that, you do have what Blank will need to take into this matchup. And in this regard, HQ are looking quite similar to Flash Wolves right now. And again, we mentioned this yesterday because before they played Blank, Flash Wolves had a game where they pulled out all kinds of different team comps in the scope of this one game, one series that went only 3 games long, right? And they even had triple healer in there at one point. So when you're Blank and you're looking at teams like that, and you're looking at teams like AHQ who are now demonstrating a similar flexibility, you touched on triple tank, which they're great at. They're good at their 2-2-2. They can happily run dive. They're good at triple DPS, at least passably enough now. If you're Blank, you're looking in that and you're going, how do we prep for that? We don't even know what maps they're going to go to. We have no idea what kind of comps they may want to run. There is very little relevant information to go on, and it's really hard to prep.
Absolutely, and that's kind of one of the points of Blank as well, where the prep for Flash Wolves and the prep for AHQ are very different. These are 2 teams that now function very differently. AHQ have different strengths to Flash Wolves. The Flash Wolves very dependent on Bacon Jack's strength in particular. Zonda has been both a pillar of strength and a pillar of weakness as well for the team. So an exploitable weakness that Blank nearly took advantage of, that AHQ did take advantage of a number of times before as Zonda. When you look at AHQ, they are starting to run different compositions, but they tend to still fall back on the triple tank when they need to. And that's kind of been very telling of where we've seen AHQ, because when they pulled the triple tank against Flash Wolves, they eventually said, no more of this, we have to go back to what we used to. So maybe for AHQ, they're not quite ready yet.
And maybe the game plan there for Blank is, you know, whatever AHQ bring out the gate, shut it down well enough that they don't feel comfortable anymore. Even if it was kind of working, make them feel uncomfortable, force them on the triple tank, which you have prepped for. And that could just be the only game plan.
I'll get to Smite's point in a second, but just while we got this up now, right now, maps 1, 3, and 5 will be Blank's pick as the home side. AHQ on the away side then get maps 2 and 4 in the respective starting sides. Blank have already picked their first map. It will be Ilios. Now, Smite, you had something to say.
Sure. It doesn't have too much to do with the map pick, but just very quickly on expecting what AHQ are going to bring out and how it may be a bit of an issue for Blank. Flash Wolves ran into a similar issue against Blank themselves, actually. On Numbani, when they were defending, they were asked, you usually run a Tourbillon here, but that wasn't the case. Why? And Flash Wolves said, well, we actually thought Blank were going to run a Farah, and that wasn't the case. Blank were changing things up once more, so it's not just AHQ, who may be a little hard to predict. Blank may have some of the same strengths of that as well.
I want to jump on this map pick. I think this is kind of interesting. We just straight up don't see a whole bunch of Ilios, but I would actually say, as much as they don't pull it out much, this is a very, very Blank favored map, and it's no surprise that they have also gone and picked it. This will be something they prepped, I feel, specifically against AHQ, and when we have seen them on it, they actually look really great. We tend to only see it in these fringe cases. It's not something that teams generally have any reason to pick, and I think this is a very good time to bring it out as well if it's kind of in the back pocket. It's just sort of that ideal time to do it just before playoffs where you show a strength, but you don't completely show the strength, because if they didn't ever pick it again over the rest of this round robin, no one's going to have enough data to work off, and you can pick up a crucial win like this one without giving away information.
And Ilios, of course, with Blank's picking that as well. One of the messages that I'm really getting from Blank is saying, on Ruins, we will beat you with our Widowmaker on Edom. On Well, we will beat you with Atar on Fair if we decide to go that way. And then on all 3 stages of Ilios, we will out-Tracer you with Edom. So, this is Blank's pick, this is Blank's home, and a very strong statement to start map 1 off with.
They have absolutely got a plan running into this. We have a pretty good idea of what it is, but what really happens, what really counts is how it gets executed. That is what it all comes down to first. It's going to be Ruins.
Ruins, and I'm expecting at least one Widowmaker here from either side. Blank going to start off with Eat Up on that. Lazy Titan, I think he knows, and he's not going to try and outduel Eat Up. Not to start with anyway.
Kara's interested going over onto the Sombra. I actually quite like this. There is quite a lot of health pack set up around this that you can control. And if you do that, you can give yourself quite a big leg up, but not if you get sniped out, so never mind that. And they may just have to swap off the Sombra straight away. Now also picking Erican and absolutely slaughtering AHQ. Here's going to be the contest of this high ground by Cowman, but that doesn't matter. While he's busy doing that, the rest of his team is continually getting picked to bits. Dizzy now getting routed out. Lazy Titan closed out in that pilot mode, and they completely shut out AHQ in the opening skirmish.
Quick and decisive. This is the way that Blank likes to be able to play, shutting down carries on Sombra straight away. Now, I think you may be on onto something here because Carries, maybe he should swap out. They're at the sort of stage of the game now where you no longer have health pack control, you don't have the area control.
Right as you say that.
Yeah, except you have to be able to get the health packs sort of around the back of the points near your side. Anyway, you can't actually assault the main ones you want, which is that big one right at the end.
And now he's actually got to try and get past Gunva first. It's now been telegraphed. They know where he is. He doesn't actually get to recall either and just gets taken straight down by some Zenyatta headshots. So he doesn't get that crucial big health pack off the side where Blank are right now.
And Blank are going to have Infrasight available for this next fight as well. So if your Carries, invisibility is not going to do you any good. They're still waiting for EMP to actually play this. AHQ, they're going for a setup type of strategy with this kind of composition, and they're going to end up waiting a long time to get it to work.
There's the commit, and they do actually catch ETU up. That's a good way to start it off, and Dizzy is starting to wreak havoc. There we go. Good collapse as RKT's able to deal with him. Gunva was in a bit of a tight spot before that happened. They do finally take him down, but they've expended so many resources. Now Erican is miles away from the fight, and Atar is busy dealing with him. They're still in control of the point as well, and AHQ are kind of scattered on it. Atar now going to cut off any kind of reinforcement. Now finally able to deal with Erican. The EMP does come out, but honestly, it's not having much of an effect at all here. I mean, as it was, Carries died straight afterwards. Kamen is finally going to commit with this Dragon Blade, but he's on top of the sound barrier. He can't get through anyone's health bar, and now they're just kind of throwing bodies at the point.
This is a very unfortunate engagement for AHQ for many of the reasons you said. Specifically, the EMP kind of did nothing here because most of the members were not really alive. We do have a pause while I have the opportunity to talk about this, but Carries died straight after the EMP, like you said as well, so they couldn't get the damage follow-up to really make use of it. The big problem for AHQ was Carries getting picked out early by Eat Up in that very first engagement, slowing down the EMP significantly, then losing the second fight as well. They didn't get to bring the EMP until now, roughly around the 70-ish% mark, so you've given up 70% worth of your progress just to work towards one EMP that had no payout. This is now AHQ severely behind.
Yeah, I mean, who are you even going to hit with that, really?
And look at the way Blank are playing as well. As soon as they notice that there's a Sombra, they immediately shift all of their focus over to that big health pack that you guys mentioned during the game, right? Now there's no chance at all of getting a contest on that pack, and it's suddenly much harder to get that EMP up. Like you said, 70% through the point already, and that was the first EMP, which, by the way, did absolutely nothing for them to win the fight. It wasn't even weighted for, they didn't even wait for the sound barrier to come out either, so as soon as the hack was done for, suddenly sound barrier comes out and Dragon Blade is completely nullified. They weren't even tailored together.
All right, well, we're going to get back into the game now as the game has been unpaused. Blank still lead 88%.
Yeah, it's pretty much go time now for HQ. They've actually brought out a Widowmaker of their own. They're sticking to the Sombra, who I don't think will be able to get an EMP before this final fight. Atar still looking for a pick. And, actually has to kind of retreat. Will be able to get out. That's a good sound barrier commit by AHQ now to kind of give themselves an opening in this fight, give themselves the legs. Unfortunately, Karras falls short of ETU Up's perch there, and because he's not able to dish out anything here, no EMP available, the rest of the team is just getting completely smacked down. Erican trying to frontline and now actually forced to stall with the ultimate, but Blank are just all over this. AHQ really not committing hard to that final fight and just kind of got red.
A very strong opening up from Blank, and this is the start that they would have liked to have had against Flash Wolves yesterday, but they will get it against AHQ now. And it's a dominant one too, because for many of the reasons stated, AHQ went for a bit of a gambit with the Sombra play, didn't end up working for them. When you said Kerry should have swapped, is where I agree, he should have probably stopped. As soon as he got shot down by Eat Up in the very initial engagement, don't even bother anymore. You're going to be far too late to be able to make that useful. Lazy Titan ready to end there with the Widowmaker swap himself. Far too late to really make that useful because you waited that entire time to try and contest Eat Up on the Widow. I mean, we're already at the end of the game here, so AHQ kind of behind the 8 ball.
And that's the thing with Sombra, you know, you can lose at the very start in the skirmish, but if you lose the Sombra itself, the comp has failed. It's pretty much done for when you do need to swap. So no Sombra's out the gate on this one, and both teams actually very close to mirroring each other. The thing I find interesting, no Soldier for AHQ.
Which is interesting because usually Dizzy or it's going to be Lazy Titan playing on that one, but they are favoring a lot of the Tracer play coming up from Dizzy now, and it is AHQ with the better opening hand this time around. Blank are going to have to fold this one out and wait for the next turn.
Yeah, very good aggressive play. Well executed on the dive comp there as well, just pressuring Blank down where they were kind of stuck and They ended up kind of looking the fool, caught in an alleyway, no room to retreat, and ATAR wasn't able to dish out enough damage. So quick change up for Blank as well to go into the skies.
It's a good change up because, like you said already, AHQ no Soldier, no direct hard counter to ATAR. The only difference here for Blank really is they sacrifice a little bit of the ult charge that they had to start with. Nothing too major. It does mean Blank come in with, I guess, at least a compositional bit of flexibility against what AHQ can bring to the table.
Yeah, they do give up the ult charge, but AHQ don't exactly have much of their own, and now they're really getting good target selection here. Dizzy not able to really get much on the side, and Gunba, sorry. Well, then I suppose it is Gunba actually, is in the pocket of the more important ATAR right now, is completely uncontested, and like you said, the lack of Soldier really accounts for a lot of that. Not that Soldier is a hard counter, but Tracer certainly isn't.
And certainly not when you don't have one of the spectacular tracers like EW, you don't have Bacon Jack in your team either. You've got Dizzy that's really coming up to speed now. The Kalman's been a fairly good Genji, not even the best in the tournament, unfortunately. They need to be able to find an answer to ATAR pretty soon. We're about to head into the sort of range where Gunba does get res, so any sort of the big DPS outputs coming out from AHQ will be answered.
Kalman does have this ultimate available, and he's really looking for it. You can see it already, pressure onto Kiki. But look at this great positioning by Gunba up in the skies. He's able to top off Kiki's health. They throw out the mech to kind of give themselves some breathing space so that Kalman can't just go really hard on the engage. And he's trying to get Gunba out of the skies, but he can't find it. It's going to have to go back to ground, and now he's going to wasting the whole Dragon Blade. That Sound Barrier was committed to that one as well. They got some good pressure onto the Mercy, finally able to pick it off, but while they were doing that, they were completely scattered, and now they're getting completely shut down. I mean, sure, you got the Mercy, but at what cost, AHQ?
A big cost because Edub was kind of running pretty rampant there. Kalman committed so much. It actually would have been pretty sick because he went for the deflect right at the end there. If he had shot that deflect rocket directly back into Gunba, it would have been the play of the entire evening probably. That would have been something else.
Play of the year. But Blank still in control now, more percentage than AHQ had on their first hold.
Yeah, so still AHQ finding it difficult to sort of answer here. It is a better start for AHQ, but since that better start, they haven't really managed to get the recap in there. Got a couple of ultimates to play with, but they haven't baited out the res, and that's going to be a big one for Blake to hold on to progress.
Throwing that into the skies to try and take out ATAR and Gunba. It does indeed work. Good pressure off to the side as well. Eric can kind of force them into that tight spot, and this is their big opening now with the res not available. No response kills just yet out of Blank, and they're kind of struggling on this one. The respawn is there from Gunba, so if he can book it to the point quickly enough, he may be able to get the res on Trill and RQT if he goes down here. Kiki as well. And they may just be able to keep this fight going. Gunba may just book for it. ATAR seems to want to commit to this fight. They catch RQT as well. The res doesn't catch Trill in time. They rightfully back up instead. They're going to hold the res for a future fight and just enjoy the fact that they drained AHQ's ultimates.
What a play out from Lazy Titan though. That really opened up AHQ. Without that, it would have been incredibly difficult for AHQ to find another opening. But now we're kind of back to square one a little bit. The only good news for AHQ, and it's pretty good news, is that they have the cap in their favor. They are racking up that percentage. Still no answer for Rez, still no answer for the pharmacy combo.
And there it comes. It's like they weren't even aware of the direction. That was a good defense matrix to try and block some of it, but they'd already got half of the healing, and the tank was just kind of right in the line of fire while that was happening. The rest of the team was able to wreak havoc on the backside. They only get the one tray back onto RQT. And it is the Rez. Erican committed his ultimate to that as well, and the Rez was really so that Blank could capture this point and hold it because they're up as high as 98%, 99% in fact. Not quite as good as 98 in some ways, but all they need to do is hold out during this last fight. Kara's going to commit the Transcendence, and they're just kind of waiting for the opening, going to wait out the sound barrier here.
Could be good.
It could be, and they need to last it out, but he can't commit too hard into this D.Va ultimate. They're caught crappy, so they've made a bit of space for themselves, and Kalman is struggling to find anything, goes down to Trill instead. Good job cutting him back. The trades are starting to come through for AHQ, but ATAR is still largely unopposed, and he doesn't quite have Gunba in the pocket anymore. Now he goes down. It's all on Eat You Up.
Still the final moments of the game, and it's actually come out surprisingly even with AHQ getting the majority of the picks on the back end. They still have to clean up the remaining members from Blank, and this overtime has been going for a very long time now. Lazy Titan losing his mech is going to spell a little bit of trouble. Pulse Bomb available for Dizzy. He's got to make something happen with that.
Kiki gets back into his mech, but the Pulse Bomb sticks the mech and doesn't kill it. So now Blank have actually regrouped, and you're right, Lazy Titan outside of that mech is having very little effect. The cap did nearly go through. Erican is trying to keep this squad kettled off to the side. They've shut down the Tracer, but Kalman's been answered as well now, and they nearly have the res. That could be all they need to swing it. Trill's able to stall with his ultimate. They need to keep Gunba alive. ATAR still looking for the opportune moment to commit the barrage, but AHQ step off a split second too long. The overtime disappears in the blink of an eye. That is that for Blank.
And a split second sounds just about right because the overtime was going on for so long. If AHQ, if any member was off for even that amount of time, We didn't even see the overtime ticker go down. It was just gone within the blink of an eye.
It was so fast. I think it's one of the fastest I've ever seen. It took me a minute. It took me a minute to go, oh, it's finished, because of the overtime timer. That was that low. That's how long that fight was protracted for. That's how long it was drawn out for. And actually, to their credit, AHQ came off the better of the first part of that fight and did nearly get the cap off, but didn't quite shut down the last two members of Blank.
So outside of the Lazy Titan-esque self-destruct that he does usually get, which he got one time. Outside of that, they had no answer for the pharmacy combat. They had no answer for ATA. This is kind of speaking to the narrative I said earlier. We're going to out-widow you on Ruins. We're going to out-Pharaoh you on Well, and now we're on to Lighthouse. And this could be the final moment for AHQ.
This dive did work against ATA on the Soldier last time, but this is a different beast. This is Lighthouse, and you can't take that same kind of positioning. Blank have the room to maneuver just barely as they took out Cowman. Now trying to get the aggression on to take out Lazy Titan. They catch the mech, and that will get them this point when it unlocks.
Yeah, got a little bit of pressure on the back line for Blank as well to get rid of Eric, so that's pretty important. Now you've gotten rid of both of these tanks. Well, now you actually have got rid of both the tanks, and the rest of ASQ should fall down pretty easily. ATA had fantastic position to start things off with, and he's been a real factor this game. We applaud Eat Up a lot, but so far, ATA's been the one to watch out for.
Eat You Up, look at this target priority. Just hunts down Cowman. Unrelenting in dealing with him on the sides. This is not just time that Cowman is dead. This is time that he's not charging up the ultimate. And that Dragon Blade is a really big swing ult they need.
It is, and unfortunately, the last few times we've seen Cowman come out with the Dragon Blade, it's kind of had a bit of a negative effect. Nothing really coming out on top of that, which is something else for AHQ that they have to be concerned about. Lazy Titan onto this Soldier now. He wants to be able to answer ATA with some gameplay of his own on that character.
Change of tack off the dive and onto the triple DPS. They take out Eat You Up very early in the fight, and that could be all they need for this one. The pressure can now come out unrelenting from them without Eat You Up there to kind of harass the backliners, and there it goes. They take out Kiki's mech. Blank are rightfully going to back away from this one before they give up any more kills. Trill may just get out with his life here. I'm not quite sure where he's fleeing to. I can't quite see him, but hopefully he gets out, and it does seem to be the case, and Blank will be able to re-attack the point.
Well, he does get healed up anyway, so I think he was kind of stuck a little bit too far behind lines. Gumbo had to go in there and retrieve him. AHQ do in fact have control, which is really important for them. The Chauffeur, the triple DPS, killing Kiki was the sort of pathway that they had to get to obtaining that. Flanker back in action though, and a bunch of ultimates. They're looking pretty decently ready to take this point back.
It took out the one tank of the triple DPS, and now they have the opportunity to hit the go button. Trill committing hard. They do lose Eat You Up, so they're a little bit worse for where as they assault the point, but picking Cowman, and they take out the healers as well. Dizzy and Lazy Titan find themselves with absolutely no legs to stand on. I don't even know how they're upright at this point. Blank get the cap through.
And Blank get it with minimal ultimates committed. Killing Erikin right at the top of the bat is extremely important against triple DPS. Like you said, one tank. With that one tank out of the picture, your entire backline is open. All of those squishies suddenly have nothing to hide behind. You see how quickly AHQ fall after that.
You really do. AHQ are able to get onto this point now. They kind of force Blank to assault it themselves. They have a good run of ultimates. Kiki has the self-destruct to commit to this point, but you can tell AHQ will just kind of scatter away. There we go, has to commit it because he's about to lose the mech. There we go, while that's happening, they're committing on the backside of this. ATA able to stay alive through this Transcendence as well. Good timing out of that with Gunba. Cowman going to commit this blade now. Let's see what he can find. He's desperately trying to get onto Gunba. Will find him, but that may be it. He finds to the back line. Blank don't have any ultimates left though. They can take out Cowman, which they do. There we go. They just set up enough on this point, and they can't quite take out ATA, who is now turning his attention over to Dizzy. And as much as it was looking tricky for a moment there, remember the healers and tank were dead for AHQ. Those DPS, are very squishy, and Blank were still the ones set up on the point.
So 93%. Now this is where AHQ got to get really desperate. They have only a few moments left to contest this. Already losing members extremely quickly. Eric Ken might go down again. If that happens, this could be all over.
It's over.
I think it is.
Eat You Up picked Keras right at the top of that, and before it had even started, it was over. They barely had time to get to the point, so they were only really going to be piling in one by one. You don't have time to set up there. Not even the most patient team could find that sort of time. And then just getting killed one by one as they come on the point. That is completely unsurprising when Blank are that well entrenched.
And the biggest fight for Blank was the second to last one where both teams had a plethora of ultimates that they all committed at the same time. ATA killing Lazy Titan with his tech visor was a big deal. Also Gumbo then managing to save just about everybody with Transcendence. Both sound barriers were committed fairly early. Crappy, I noticed, didn't manage to get all of his team members with that, so might have made a little bit of a difference at the end of the day. But A big ultimate that kind of whiffed was once again Kalman's Dragon Blade didn't catch enough. He got Gumba right at the end, didn't get anybody else. When you have 3 DPSs and one of your DPSs isn't able to pull weight specifically on an ultimate as well, it makes a big deal. And then when the fight was over, 95% for Blank, not enough time for AHQ to come back out.
No, unfortunately
Dominant display by Blank.
Yeah, first thing I kind of want to say, my big takeaway from that first match was Blank are back. Blank are back, guys. We started to suspect
this yesterday.
We started to suspect it yesterday, but they did actually take a loss, and we really do need to be careful not to forget that. As close as it did come, it was a loss. But that was a win. It was a dominant win. Blank are looking good. There are still 2 more games minimum in this series, but Blank are back.
I have to agree, and also I've got to say during that series, ATAR did pretty spectacularly, right? And you could see the flexibility going from both Soldier to Pharah. Also Blank noticing when to swap onto that Pharah, noticing the fatal flaw in AHQ's composition is that, hey look, Dizzy's not on that Soldier. Who's to challenge us in the skies apart from a random nuke of a mech? But apart from that, ATAR was pretty unchallenged up there, and you saw how effective that was. And then the other maps when he was on the Soldier, and he was actually on Tracer for Ruins as well, to eat you up the space to go into Widowmaker. So that's 3 different heroes that he was playing during that series, and they all worked out very well.
I just want to jump on something there as well with Lazy Titan with that self-destruct, because we do see Lazy Titan right now as one of the few divas consistently actually getting, double kills, triple kills even with that self-destruct. I mean, sometimes a diva is lucky just to catch 1. They often use it just for zoning, just to kind of force the positioning of the other team, and it does seem that AHQ are one of the few that actually leverage it as a damage tool as well. And I say leverage because the reason that play happened wasn't because they threw out the mech. They threw out the mech and positioned it well, but then Erican ensured that ATAR and Gunba couldn't actually retreat safely. He was there kind of blocking the most immediate path to kind of drop behind that trellis fence on your side of the well. So that was also very great team play. And that's why Lazy Titan always looks so good with these self-destructs. Not only is he throwing them into Gravitons and Earth Shatters, his team is also helping stop forced positioning, right? If you can force the enemy team to back off because otherwise they die, then if you can force them to stay as well and then they die, you get even more.
Erican has been a good buddy for Lazy Titan as well. We see the setups from a multitude of different different sort of angles as well. One of them is the Earth Shatter combo that he sort of plays in there. Earth Shatter into self-destruct. We've seen it in many of the play of the games. A lot of the big ones that we've seen were 3-4 kills. We've sort of wondered how did that happen. You check the play of the game afterwards. Erican sets it up with the Earth Shatter, and he says as well. He's like, remember every good self-destruct that Lazy Titan gets. Yeah, I helped them get that one. So
pretty much.
So, it's applauding both of the members there, and I don't know if I would really call it random either, because it is a calculated thing for Lazy Titan. It is actually a weapon specifically against a pharmacy combo. It is much harder for that combo to be able to save themselves and protect themselves from self-destruct than many of the other members as well. But that was the only way and the only option they realistically had. Kalman tried to get up there with the Dragon Blade, failed miserably, unfortunately. He got 1 swing into Gumba, and not enough. There wasn't even follow-up damage from the rest of his team to try and clean up that kill, which was a bit unfortunate. So every other option bar that self-destruct was unfortunately not there, which is why Well went so heavily in Blank's favor.
Yeah, when your best option against the biggest threat on the enemy team is your ultimates, right? And the second closest thing was to that self-destruct was, of course, that Dragon Blade, and even that wasn't working. And you've got to step back for a moment and say, there's got to be something else we've got to do here. Either dive the guys on the ground with our Tracer and our Genji, or swap back onto that Soldier, who we know Dizzy's fantastic at, and he can shoot down the pharmacy in the sky. Now, it's a big challenge, of course, to say, just shoot down the pharmacy in the sky. It's not great, but it gives them so much less space to work with consistently.
Actually, the answer would have been to move Lazy Titan onto Soldier if they were going to go for that at all, because at that stage you can't take Dizzy off the Tracer, because you need a Tracer. If anything was going to happen, they should have opened up the game with Dizzy on Soldier and then Kalman on Tracer, and that would have been the combo that could have stuck to and then kept Lazy Titan on the Diva. Now, I know the reason they're playing the current composition, they play it because that means they can then flex Lazy Titan onto Soldier should they need to, but they're no longer running Soldier as a core part of their composition, and this is why Flash Wolves and AHQ are so different. because Flash Wolves will still choose to run Zonda on that Soldier, and Zonda flexes between Soldier and Genji specifically.
That's a really good point. And actually the dive did look really good coming out the gate on well as well. They did win that opening skirmish, and they won it really, really hard. Like, it wasn't just they got a couple of kills and got the point. It's like they killed pretty much everyone. Blank had to change instantly, and good on them for doing so, by the way. Otherwise they probably would have continued to lose, but you're right, no further adaptation.
All right, well, the map has come through. It is the away pick from AHQ Esports, and it is going to be Numbani. This is a big statement. Before we get into the map, Smite, your thoughts on Numbani and specifically AHQ picking it against Blank?
So very surprising from an outside point of view, because yesterday we saw Blank did lose Numbani to Flash Wolves, but they had a very good performance on it against Flash Wolves. It actually came down to the very last fight, and that's when Flash Wolves managed to pull it out. So if you are AHQ, you have to be damn confident in your Numbani, and if you look at the previous matches as well, then you can see why. AHQ first held Blank on Numbani the last time we saw these teams play off against each other, and that was when Blank picked the map as well. And there was just zero contest at all. In fact, we were saying AHQ have actually claimed Numbani as their map now. With Blank's performance latest on this map looking a lot better, then I think they're poised to take it back.
The one thing that does have to be said here as well, though, because this was played yesterday with Blank, and they did actually lose it, it was very close, but they lost it. AHQ do have some very recent information for how Blank plays. They could be picking this not just because they've practiced Numbani and they're confident on it, but also because they have spotted a mistake that Blank were maybe doing yesterday that they haven't noticed yet because Flash Wolves weren't exploiting it. That is a very real possibility. Otherwise, I would say this pick would be quite brazen based on yesterday's performance.
I would actually expect AHQ, and I would, sorry, not expect, but rather I would hope AHQ kind of go back to what they were better known for, because so far, with their current compositions, with running Lazy Titan on the Soldier, with running Dizzy predominantly on the Tracer, I don't feel like AHQ are as powerful as they once were. Now, even against Blank, something Blank had been weak to before was that triple take. Maybe Blank have overcome that now, maybe Blank have found a couple of good answers to that, but for AHQ, they have some very specific power points in this team that they need to tap into once again if they want to win. So AHQ might be time to turn back the clock.
May just be. And like Smite said, we kind of credited AHQ with taking this map off Blank. It was once upon a time Blank's map, Blank's bread and butter. No one was better than Blank on Numbani until AHQ beat them. And from there it was all downhill for Blank, it was all uphill for AHQ, but maybe this is the opportunity for Blank to take it back.
And it would be a very, I guess, poetic way to sort of theme out the entire tournament, where Blank's downfall really started with AHQ. AHQ beat them in that best of 5, 3 maps to 2 map victory. And now with Blank on their way back up, if they beat AHQ, that would be a sure signal that they are in fact back in the competition and back to where they were.
That it absolutely would be. AHQ, nothing spicy on this defense, nothing too untoward. Crappy on that Torbjorn, we've very much come to expect that. This is a little interesting for Blank out the gate, though. They are going to go ahead, run a Reinhardt. Not unprecedented, but certainly interesting.
Something Blank have been doing a lot more recently as well, putting Troll back onto the Reinhardt. And I do like this composition out of them as well. Atar's been performing fairly decently onto the Soldier. Eat-Up is still Eat-Up. They just got to deal with some of this early pressure, and they should be able to get past. First charge does miss.
Yeah, unfortunately, White weren't quite able to catch Erican, but they picked Dizzy. Ichu up doing great work on the side. Now Erican committing again, and he knows not to commit too hard onto this one. He's going to try and stay careful with that one, get a recommit up to the top side, and he's getting really brazen here. He's just trying to stop any further follow-up. They have managed to shut down Ichu up, and Dizzy will respawn, so Blank have to hold out a little while longer now.
Yeah, they need Dizzy to get back into the fight for this to be very, very effective, and Eat-Up, he has found the turret location, which is important because for Blank, that's one of the first things you have to be able to look out for when playing up against a Torbjorn composition. Getting the first pick again now on one of the DPSs should mean it's time for Blank to make a move.
This time it's Cowman, and they pick out the turret. Very nice target selection. They're trying to get this commit going on now as Keras has committed this nano boost, but all they've really found so far with it is Gunvik. Atar tried to commit to the low ground, didn't respect Dizzy's coverage of it, and now Blank maybe committing a little bit too hard, a little bit too quickly after getting a couple of useful things out of the picture. They were able to force them back with that self-destruct, so now they're sort of on this point, but not in anything like a comfortable way. You can see Crappy kind of routing the front end of that one, and they are trapped. They are going to be able to retreat at least, but it was a bit of a botched attack from Blank.
Absolutely, and you know, Dizzy coming back to the fray early enough as well. Shutting down ATAR was one of the keys there for Dizzy, and this is a big test for ATAR as well. As much as we've said, look, ATAR looks better on Soldier, does he look as good as Dizzy, who still very well may be the best Soldier in the competition. Zon is giving him a run for his money, but it's still a tough day for Blank to be able to get past this. Numbani has been their weakness against AHQ. They've got to get past the first cap at least to start with.
They really do, and their first attack against Flash Wolves looked a little bit similarly tricky. It was certainly a rocky road, to be sure, but Blank looking to find an opening now. Eat You Up, trying to route around the side.
And Molten Core's up as well, which is, you know, it's difficult to attack into. Getting the turret down early does open things up. Denies the nano boost as well because, you know, down goes carries, and this is now going to be a huge opening.
Yeah, they committed out the self-destruct, but ATAR, cool and calm, stayed in cover. They immediately put the nano boost on with the tactical visor, knowing that they could commit right then, and if AHQ committed more, they would be overcommitting to the fight themselves. So Blank, they find their moment, they strike like a scorpion, man, and that was huge.
And they're not quite done just yet. Eat Up might win this 1v1 duel as well. Not going to be the case. Turns into a 2v1 very quickly.
Oh, but
doesn't matter.
Still got him.
Kiki, the teammate, that's the alley-oop coming in from the side as well. So Blank, they've done one thing already that's just like a check mark. You got him past the first cap, and that's significant because so far AHQ by history have managed to hold Blank on the first cap already. Not this time though.
Not this time at all. And now the test will be, can they push it to the end, unlike what happened against Flash Wolves?
Which is a big one as well, because that is where Blank started to run out of steam. They really had a couple of good runs on both the first cap and also the Streets phase, but when we got to the third cap, that's when it looked really difficult. For AHQ though, however, it's kind of been the inverse. They usually look very good on the first cap, and then on the Streets and third, it gets a bit messy. Which is rare because we barely see them on the Streets and third.
Yeah. It's actually quite a major point you bring up there. Dizzy does have his own tactical visor, and the nano boost is there as well if they want to commit to it, and they may just need to because Blank are really trying to put the pressure on hard. This is going to be the commit out of them now as they kind of have to throw the mech out. Bit of a Hail Mary as Kiki doesn't find anything. Now they're going to go ahead, try and commit to the fight. ATAR, there's going to be his nano visor out already. Dizzy committed his as well, and neither has really found anything. The fight continues now as Trill able to deal with Dizzy completely. They route out Crappy on the front side of this one. Erican finding himself just a bit too deep. Will buy time with this ultimate and then their own self-destruct to come out, but they're out of resources now. Blank still have plenty to go off. The card is still underway, and this should turn into a cap.
And this is a very difficult place for AHQ to sort of sit in on. Dizzy getting picked out early is not what they want to be going into this. He's their powerhouse player. This is the rock of the team. He's the one that wins these games for AHQ. With him out of the picture, ATAR just kind of runs rampant. Both of the Soldiers use attack visor there. Both nano boost committed as well, but only one team came out on top. The final now just sort of token defense from AHQ mistimed completely.
Very mistimed. Yeah, the cap went through as the sound barrier began, and now they are paying for it dearly. That is a defensive tool that they will be lacking on this final bit of defense. They had to try and charge it up because Blank, they now have a huge amount of momentum coming into this last point.
They do. They have ultimates as well. AHQ are completely empty. What AHQ do have to work with here is if they can get past a couple of ultimates, they can hold Blank, they should be able to mount a solid defense in the sense that this is where their reinforcements on the respawns really start to kick in here. So big deal for Eat Up to be able to get a decent pulse bomb, get themselves a lot of momentum with that.
Yeah, it's really the one thing that AHQ can bank on here. They also do have this nano boost that I believe will be committed. There it is actually, yes, onto Erican indeed. Trill, gets put to sleep as he goes aggressive, and that could be key for them. He does ult out, and now Blank are going to have to commit their full run of theirs. They haven't quite closed out the kills yet, but they're starting to get them through now. And at least making the space themselves as well with that self-destruct. Lazy Titan does trade one back, but the cart is underway. That's what counts. And AHQ, they're a little bit scattered on this final contest now because they lost a couple of members there. Cowman does get the pulse sticky onto ATAR. And now Dizzy routing around the side with this tactical visor. They may just have found their legs at the last moment here. Will pick out RQT. Aggression coming onto Dizzy though, and he's going to have to try and force Trill back if he can. They do successfully do so. Garys gets the kill credit for that one. Secured, if you will, and they repel Blank.
Right at the final moments as well, look at where the cart position is. It got so close, but AHQ just managed to hold on to enough ultimates to repel that one. The big one coming out from Cowman, I think he was the person that really swung the fight in AHQ's favor. Good sticky bomb pulse onto ATAR, and then Dizzy coming on through with his own tank visor, getting the necessary kills. And of course, the reinforcements as well from AHQ really kicking into speed.
Very early pick out onto Cowman. That is a big window now wide open, and this is how the intruder gets in. It's intruder window. Blank trying to go aggressive as best as they can. Cowman has respawned. They haven't quite converted the kills. They do catch Crappy, trying to get the aggression onto Lazy Titan, but he throws out the mech, who's able to get out of sight. Everyone does scatter successfully, but that just halts Blank for a moment.
Yeah, well, halting Blank for a moment. A couple moments later, it's going to be the entire cap going through. We've nearly just got about a minute left to go. Minute and 10, roughly. AHQ sitting on 2 ultimates. If Cowman can get another magical pulse bomb, that could not just halt Blank, but it may just stop Blank altogether. A lot of ultimates from Blank that they're going to make this their final hurrah.
On the flip side of that, though, Each could do the very same. Keres has already picked this. ATAR opens up unopposed. They can only put the nano boost onto Erican here on the defense, and they're struggling with it. They do pick ATAR, but already Erican is getting pressured out anyway.
Does he need to live?
Dizzy, he does need to live so desperately. No, he doesn't get away. Eat You Up is unrelenting once again, and they push the cap through. Dizzy living there may have been all it took. He would have had that tactical visor. He would have been able to drop down the biotic field, but no such luck. Blank crossed the line.
Right at the final moment as well, and we said it really came down to what was Cowman going to do with his pulse bomb. Eat could really do the same thing on their side as well. The ultimates for AHU came in fairly late, but they were available right towards the end. They just needed to find an opening, couldn't get that opening. Both the tanks from Blank were still running rampant across that cut, across the point. And for Dizzy, you know, pressured out, no healing, no supports, no ability to get his tech buys out. It may have been the saving grace. Would still been a really difficult ask because he's got to get past tanks, but they needed everything they could at that point.
You know, yesterday we saw a similar thing on that third point. Blank got stopped up a little bit, and they had to retreat. And in so doing, Eat You Up did kind of stay in the fray a little bit, and was looking to kind of keep the harass going on so that they could get in at the right time. This time around, whereas it cost them against Flash Wolves, Flash Wolves capitalized on it. This time around, Eat You Up was able to stay in the fray and stay safer, and that paid dividends in that final fight. You can see the difference night and day between AHQ and Flash Wolves, and indeed how Blank are playing this against AHQ.
Yeah, a lot of these engagements have also come down to both ATAR and Dizzy as well. Dizzy has been shut down many times now by Blank, which is a big improvement, and also one of the keys to success against AHQ specifically. Like I said, one of the power players. You get rid of Dizzy, you get rid of the majority of the damage coming up from their team. And protecting Dizzy, like we've many a times have said AHQ is a team that plays a protect the Dizzy sort of play style. That is their win condition. If they fail to do that, like we've seen many times already, that's when AHQ have kind of fallen prey to Blank. And similarly on the other side, the duel between Dizzy and ATAR has been really interesting because when Dizzy has come on top against ATAR, that's when AHQ have been able to get ahead as well.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is most of the time that hasn't been happening. This is very unusual for Dizzy. He was running on that soldier for pretty much entire defense, if I'm not mistaken, but now out on the offense.
Yeah, so AHQ 2-2-2 composition. This is the Flash Wolves formula as well. Both teams have kind of just mirrored each other. Blank have done the exact same thing almost as AHQ did on defense, at least in terms of composition.
Good bump onto RQT, and the aggression is all there from AHQ. The response kill will come through into Lazy Titan, and they are getting some good damage down, but the rest of Blank have been routed out by the as of yet untouched Dizzy, naturally. And they are going to secure this point. Very quick cleanup by them, and I tell you what, that is what happens when Dizzy doesn't get shut down.
And that's what happens when ATAR does get shut down. We actually didn't see much support in there. You see him run through the narrow hallway down the corridor as well. It was just easy pickings for AHQ to deny ATAR from that fight. Then straight away the next pick was onto the turret and also onto RQT, so no new turrets coming out. It was a really big sort of opening from AHQ, a very dominant statement coming in for Numbani.
Good catch onto Trill as well. Should just give them enough space to kind of keep on the aggressive here. Blank wanted to go for a bit of an early defense to stall up AHQ, try and bleed the clock a little bit, but losing Trill, they know that they can't commit to that any further. They do just back off.
This is going to be an interesting play from Cowman as well. Look for a sneaky sticky onto the side. Anybody he gets realistically will give AHQ a bit of a leg up here. AHQ are going to try and get this through with minimal commitment if possible. They have a nano boost, but they kind of want to wait for the attack visor as well. Timing is going to be important for AHQ to get past this next one.
Well,
and
hey,
Cowman already missed.
Yeah, they actually committed the nano boost onto Erican. It's already happened. Gunba down on the back side of this one, so the commit does work. Now Erican with the ultimate as well. They're able to get ATAR, just kind of one-man arming this back line. Blank looking in absolute disarray here. They haven't really found a spot to dig in their heels and defend yet. Luckily, they didn't commit any ultimates to that, but they're going to give the cap over and now have to hold out entirely on this third point.
Not finding a spot, and they're not going to find a spot on streets. This is the last opportunity. So far for AHQ, they haven't stopped pushing. They haven't lost a single fight. This is all of the momentum of that initial engagement that AHQ won. And Blank is still feeling the effects of it currently on the third cap. They've saved up 6 ultimates. They haven't spent a single thing. If you don't spend now, you don't hold this now, it's all over.
They're going to commit the self-destruct to create some space for themselves. It does indeed work as they start to pile in to the, I suppose, underpass there. I don't know, why would you run a road through a building like that? That's a silly thing. But they do force AHQ back a little bit. AHQ do respect the ultimates that Blank have, but they also don't lose anyone. Now they can go back on the aggressive here, and unless Trill can make a big opening, Blank will just maybe be slowly forced back. Both teams have to commit to the fight. Pulse Bomb goes wide out of Cowman, and the sound barrier is there for Blank. Dizzy getting stopped up on the side. Good work by Kiki, and they're going to kind of push him back towards his team. Actually, no, he wants to keep going on to it around the side, but they've lost
Probably shouldn't.
Yeah, Blank able to go on the aggressive now, and there we go. Dizzy smartly takes a dive. He knows that his team is losing the fight, and he's miles away from them. Blank do hold.
All right, well, AHQ only lose a couple members there. Dizzy took a dive on the side, so that one doesn't really count. And AHQ, they should have been looking for the back out. I would say even a little bit sooner. You want to be able to bait the ultimates out of Blank, and then you want to back up because you should understand you're not going to be able to outpower Blank sitting on 6 ultimates. 3 were used, 3 are left, and the Nano Visor is going to be the big one for Blank to go for this fight.
They do have another Nano Boost here, AHQ, that they can commit to Eric, and they've been very much favoring that, and there they go with it again. Have Blank credit this time. Yes, they have a great sleep, and now they can just kind of ride this one out. They commit their own Nano Boost, but again, Atar now the one getting slipped, and that's the Visor as well. Erican is back awake and able to take out Gunba. They finally get the trade back, though, as Trill going aggressive on the back line. Has found Dizzy. The response was there onto Atar, but it doesn't matter. The rest of AHQ, without Dizzy there, just kind of fell apart. They did not have the DPS back line there.
And that was devastating for Erican as well because he dropped the bubble at just the wrong, just 1 second off, I'm going to say, even half a second off, because he knew the sleep was going to come. He landed, he dropped the bubble, but the bubble didn't come in time. Sleep just crept on in through there, and that made all the difference because Erican couldn't pressure out Atar, because Atar stayed alive for a decent amount of time, although he got sleep towards the end. That was enough.
Much leaner for ultimates now, Blank, but AHQ have made a swap up. Still a lot of time on the clock, so this is a good time to do this. They still have plenty of time to kind of get back into this one. Pulse Bomb does catch Gunba, but they trade back onto Cowman. Blank forced to commit the one tool they really had at their disposal here as well in that sound barrier. It does work. They keep Trill alive, and they still have a moment to defend.
Yeah, and Ilios in a decent position as well. He should be dropping down looking for a Pulse Bomb. There it was, catches nothing, unfortunately. So AHQ, they buy themselves one more ultimate advantage that they can sort of work with here. Time is starting to run out for them, 3 minutes to go. They're still working with a lot of the backed up time they got from the first 2 attacks as well. So now, Cowman on the hog.
That's going to be the self-destruct out, and they pick Kiki as he's out of the mech. Dizzy opens up. They're looking to catch out. Great response. Atar able to deal with him. They have to get through the shield, and they're sort of struggling with that. They do pick carriers through there. Nice threading the needle with the rocket, and Trill going aggressive on the back line as well. And they do just kind of push their way through, make it work. It was looking very, very ropey for a second. If they hadn't shut down Dizzy exactly when they did, their fight would have gone the complete other way.
And like I said, difference between the 2 soldiers here. When one soldier wins and the other one dies, that's giving so much advantage to the team that still has a soldier remaining alive. We're sort of sitting at the stage now where AHQ are looking for options. They did make the change up, like I said, with Cowman onto the Roadhog, Erican on the Reinhardt as well. Earthshatter already available. They need to be able to leverage this because this is one of the few times they have an ultimate advantage on this third cap against Blank. Blank had so many ultimates before, they're finally completely dry.
Yeah, this is the ideal moment for AHQ. They need to find an opportunity now, or they may just never get it. Yeah, Hook does connect, but they don't quite get the follow-up for it, and they do in fact respect Trill as he goes to the aggressive on this front line. Erican, he's still searching for the Earth Shatter, but Blank aren't going to give it to him.
No.
Look at them, they're absolutely scattered here, but here's going to be the self-destruct to make space for the payload. Now it's do or die for Blank. They have to commit. The Earth Shatter, it only gets the healer, but that could be all they need. No, he's back up. RQT is still in the fight. Sound barrier out keeps him tidy. Lazy Titan does catch Kiki's mech, but that's all they've really got out of it so far. Finally able to stick the pilot as well, and they're struggling to deal with Dizzy on this back line. They're trying to get aggressive on the side with EQ up. Now the sound barrier out for AHQ with Atar running that Nano Visor once once again, this time finding nothing. All absorbed by the shield. Blank are getting beaten back mercilessly. They can't seem to convert these kills through. Even when they get aggressive onto Cowman with that anti-heal on him, they finally close it out, but they're struggling. They lose ATAR. Trill's only just rejoining the fight here. Good pressure onto Carries each up, gets another one, but there's the open up. Dizzy has another tactical visor at his disposal.
Almost Earth Shatter.
Trill is, he's still got the Earth Shatter. Erican, he does commit onto Kiki, but Trill is still aggressing onto him, and Trill is single-handedly keeping this alive now as ATAR able to respawn, and they are just holding on by a thread, but it's a thread that is strong enough to keep them afloat.
And Dizzy going down, they could just be the final nail in the coffin for AHQ as well. Respawn is coming in, but they're losing time. 30 seconds left to go. They do get a little bit of breather here. So close to actually capping it out. This is going to be their final engagement there. If that was overtime, it would have been all over. AHQ fell to pieces, and what looked like it could have been their final commit. Earthshatter didn't catch it up twice in a row. I need to see a little bit more out of Erican. One nano boost is realistically all AHQ got to go off of.
Watch these D.Va ults. The space created could change everything where these soldiers are able to maneuver. They commit a nano boost, but it's onto Cowman. He's not able to find anyone. Kiki throws himself in to prepare that self-destruct. They pick Lazy Titan. No self-destruct out of AHQ now as ATAR trying to close out the rest. Cowman continuing to try and go aggressive. Good sticky onto Trill, but it's not enough for the closeout. The nano boost, the damage reduction, he keeps himself alive as they start to close them out. The only one that was down at any point in that, I believe, was Gunva. Briefly, there he goes. Wow. They held just barely.
And
all the
Numbani,
way.
the curse is over for Blank. They finally get a win back on Numbani. They're 2-0 up against AHQ. This is something they have not been able to do since the very first round robin. This is flashback moments for Blank now, and they're happy that this is the situation that they're currently in, because the opposite was happening against Flash Wolves last night. So, a massive turnaround for Blank and an unfortunate turnaround for AHQ. The final moments was so crucial. That second to last fight, I think, was the one that really sealed the deal for Blank and got their victory, because a massive commit from AHQ. Nothing came out of that, and the final push from AHQ, they were already dry. Nothing they could have done realistically there to bring it back.
That was absolutely phenomenal. There was this stretch there that I felt like Blank were just barely keeping it alive, and they were slowly throwing more ultimates than AHQ were, and you could see the scales just starting to tip. Then AHQ came in with that ultimate advantage. They made all the space, and it looked like it was just about to cross the line, and then it was like Trill and ATAR put their feet down on the other end of the scale and went, no, we are winning this. We're winning this right now.
And Trill did a fantastic job of shutting down Dizzy as well multiple times, and Dizzy tried to get back into that fight. Trill was on top of him. He had moments where ATAR was well protected as well. This really made the difference. The tale of two soldiers, I think, was one of the key factors for Blank's victory there. And, well, one more map to go, and it's looking really, really good for Blank, and AHQ still yet to find a decent foot here, even though they went back to the tried and true, putting Dizzy back on the soldier, coming out with a 2-2-2. They didn't have to bring out the triple tank. Maybe they should, even putting Cowman onto the Roadhog, which was one of the key factors in their victory. One of the few times that we saw Numbani being played between these two teams, and it was a decisive victory for AHQ. That didn't even come through for them. It wasn't enough.
Gotta say, gentlemen, though, the curse might be over. Blank may have ended up victorious tonight, but those defenses on the first two checkpoints, did they even happen? Because Blank got steamrolled, like you said, through one attack that went all the way through the first checkpoint and then straight through Streets phase, where there was zero contest at all coming out from Blank. We thought Blank's attack was pretty good, but AHQ just made it look effortless, right? And a lot of that, especially in Streets phase, I've got to say, Trill might have done a great job on third checkpoint, but he was caught out in the majority of those fights on that Streets phase. The start of every single fight, he was miles ahead of his team, and AHQ, they punished him for it.
I was almost reminded of a quote, and it was my own quote. It was what I said right before when that map pick actually went through, where I said, maybe AHQ spotted something in what Blank did yesterday against Flash Wolves that they felt was exploitable. And I do think that was the case. I think they spotted something on the defense that they could kind of use to their advantage. And you're right, it did seem like Blank were always in disarray. It was like they were being caught in the setup, like they were overcommitting or undercommitting, and it just never quite seemed right. It's hard to say whether that's purely on Blank's side or whether AHQ were also exploiting it to the max and making it look like a much more significant thing that it was. But in any case, it is a screw that needs to be tightened because that did only just become a win for them.
And one thing that Blank actually did repeat in terms of their performance against Flash Wolves and then also against AHQ was they sort of set up the composition for starters, and then also the setup. They played the turret in the exact same starting location as well, with the same sort of strategy. Put the bubble down on top of the turret. AHQ kind of just ignored that, went directly for Ekta, shut him down, then barreled on through. And it took a while for Blank to really get themselves back into action. It was a very sort of difficult game for them. I don't want to say it was actually one-sided. Ilios looked a lot more one-sided for Blank. This was a big contest, and we're about to head into Assault, where, again, based on history, Blank's weakest game mode. We're exactly what the Assault map's going to be. At least it will be Blank's pick. They're going to be able to decide their own fate. We're going to find out what that is right after this break. And welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us through that break as we're about to head into map 3 of AHQ Esports versus Blank on their home day on a little bit of a win streak here, 2-0 up in the series as we're about to head into Assault. Now Blank may have broken the Numbani curse, but can they break the Assault curse, because that one is far more prevalent and far deadlier.
Yeah, a much more potent curse. I think that's a good way to put it. And look, even up until recent days, I would still say it's been their shakiest. I mean, it was their worst last night against Flash Wolves. We are seeing a bit of a, between these 3 games, look, Numbani was a lot tighter than Ilios. Look, I feel like if this goes to a game 4 or even a game 5, it is going to be because of Assault specifically.
And I did mention yesterday specifically as well, Control is Blank's best game mode. That's when they had their closest run against Flash Wolves. That's when they looked the most dominant against AHQ tonight so far. And I said yesterday, as soon as we get past Control, it's going to get more and more difficult for Blank. You get to Hybrid, it's hard. You get to Assault, suddenly it's very, very hard. And if Blank can't get past that, then we're in a lot of trouble. At least now we're guaranteed a map 5 if it goes the distance, or Blank can close it out between 3 or 4. So we're about to head into Assault. Anything you want to sort of predict in that kind of direction before we get into it?
Well, it's Blank's pick, so I'm going to say that they're going to go for Temple of Anubis because they've shown they're very comfortable at running Eat Up on that Widowmaker. They can flex a few other characters around as well, but a lot of teams have been running Widowmaker on that first point on Anubis, and then even sometimes carrying it onto the second point to get a little bit of momentum. You get 1 kill on that second point, it sets up your team in a great position to continue using that numbers advantage to just have the fight constantly in your favor, constantly generating more ults than the enemy team, and then that is what is going to get you that clean team wipe where you suddenly can cap the point out all in one go. The only thing it doesn't have is that initial barrage of ultimates that you can normally get moving on to the second point, because Widowmaker's Infrasight, well, it's good for Widowmaker and kind of good for the rest of the team. It's not like a Dragon Blade, it's not a Nano Boost or anything.
No, it doesn't provide you much. The one thing it can do is spot out a Sombra on the defense, but defensive Sombra tends to not be too hard to find anyway. Like, it's not a threat that you can't see the Sombra, it's not like when she's on Control, so it's a much different kind of beast. So yeah, not super effective, but they may also not opt for it at all. I mean, sure, we're seeing people opt for the Widowmaker now, but that wasn't always the case. Like, people didn't just always run Widowmaker on attack, and there are other ways to approach this offense. If you do go for Temple of Anubis, that is. Yeah. And Blank are also quite good at doing that and not touching the Widowmaker at all. So that's also an option on the table.
Absolutely, and it is something to consider as well. Now, gentlemen, I want to sort of be able to look at, does Lazy Titan challenge that? Because we were on Ruins very early on Ilios. Eat Up did bring that one out, and I do believe if we are going to go to any sort of Widowmaker friendly map, and it could be Hanamura as well, do not forget, Blank have been a team that run Widowmaker on attack on Hanamura, and they're one of the few teams that do run Widowmaker. In fact, they even do it on Volskaya. They do it across the board, so we can kind of say no matter what map comes up, there's a good possibility Eat Up will just run the Widowmaker. Does Lazy Titan try to challenge that? What does AHQ do? Do they run? They will most likely run a Sombra, I'm guessing, but there's a few options there.
Well, here's the precedent as well, right? Is that Blank have also run Widowmaker on defense as well, even on Anubis. But forget Anubis.
Spicy.
Screw it up, throw it in the trash bin because we're going to Volskaya.
Yep, so again, another map where Eat Up does run Widowmaker on attack if he decides to go that way. A 1 map here, which is very favorable for Sombra on the defense, and both teams have shown that they like to do that on the defense as well. So,
I will say, AHQ's is much, much stronger than really anyone else's right now, though.
I would actually say that Flash Wolves' Sombra defense is actually stronger right now still.
Yeah, fair.
Maybe it's a personal thing that I've sort of got there, maybe it's a bit of a preference, but Flash Wolves do look tighter on that defense. whereas I think AHQ do look good, but a couple of screws to sort of tie in there to sort of just tighten up that ship. For Blank though, this is still, like we've already said, their most difficult game mode. They do not look as good as other teams on here, attack or defense.
One of the things they seem to struggle with as well is playing for thirds on the second point. They seem to have improved at it. I mean, that was part of what plagued them when they were looking at their absolute worst in just sheer assault terms, not even taking into account the rest of the kind of set of losses they were picking up throughout that time after that. So Volskaya is one of the ones I think is a little easier to play for thirds because you're a lot more likely, in my opinion, to get a third off your first cap of the first point. You tend to just have a little bit more kind of in the bag because of how teams set up and how long that fight on the first point is compared to some others. But again, if you don't cap that third, I don't know how confident I feel about them actually playing for thirds, and then it's really hard to just get a full cap out. So
there's also some interesting timing when you move from the first to the second point, right? It depends on how much you crush the defending team as well, because if you crush them so hard their Sombra doesn't even have EMP up by the time you get to the second point, then that's an even bigger advantage that you're going to have.
We're also sort of in the space now where we are seeing a few teams run offensive Sombras, the counter Sombra, the counter Spy, counterintelligence, if you will, even. So interesting things that we've sort of seen the meta shift up towards. One thing about Volskaya is I do believe you have a good way to predict what the other teams are going to do. Specifically, if you're attacking, you know how teams are going to defend. A lot of teams are defending the same way now. Thank you, Smite. We'll see you on the other side of this map, but we're about to get into this now.
it's a shame in a way Sombra can't actually hack the huge mechs that are on this map like she can.
Well, she does in the cinematic, right?
Yeah, this thing she does in the video. Jeff, please.
You gotta have continuity between the lore and the cinematics and what we see here.
Absolutely.
Just like Reaper's grenade launcher, right?
Yeah.
People forget that Reaper had a grenade launcher in the cinematic.
Yeah, well, and also Soldier could actually brush off a grenade altogether. And could cross half an alleyway in a split second.
The amazing things Soldier can do, which is why Soldier's being run so much. But right now we're not going to start with a Soldier at all as expected. Blank with that Sombra on the defense. If you're AHQ, you know what's coming up, and you're going to run, well, they're going to go with an actual 2-2-2 to start things off with. And Lazy Titan, for one of the few times we're actually going to see him on a hog.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Normally they do opt to have Cowman on that when they run a triple tank, but they're not even running a triple tank here. This is a 2-2-2.
I actually know why they're doing this. This is a good way to catch out Gumba, because they know Gumba's going to try and get a bit of damage on the side there and just translocate him out of danger, but not if he can get hooked. So that is one way to shut down the Sombra, or you can get another member too.
Yeah, Atar dives in it, no, take me instead. Interesting, by the way, in running the Sombra, they're actually also running another, I say healer because often it's the healer who subs onto the Sombra because they're still running at Ana. They're looking to try and get aggressive now onto AHQ kind of in this room. They look like they might be able to train down Erican, but if they can't close it out, then all for naught. They finally get Cowman actually, so they do still find their feet on this defense despite losing Atar. That gives them enough time to charge up the EMP.
And good health pack control as well. You really see AHQ tried to go for that large health pack in the middle there. Defensive bubble being put down by Trill. Everything was just protecting that bubble. Now it's clean up for Blank. Getting the remaining members of AHQ. This initial offense from AHQ is unfortunately not going to go well for them, and they are going to have to play into EMP, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and really ran down the clock a little bit there as well, because there was quite a significant gap between Dizzy and Cowman and dying, and Erican and Lazy Titan dying.
So far, AHQ even getting the early pick out onto Atar, which by the way is interesting. If you want to go this sort of way, it's almost better that Atar plays the Sombra and that Gumba stays onto the Ana, but the other way around here is that Gumba gets to keep the Sombra into the second cat.
That was the EMP, and then Cowman was well clear of it, and he opens on up. Look at that. 3K for himself, looking good, looking pretty, and on the point. Blank don't really have anything to go off here for the counterattack. Trill not able to get the ultimate up in time as Lazy Titan closes that one out, and that's going to be that. They're able to cap this first point. Now we'll see whether or not they can snowball. Kiki, good job running down the clock just a little bit longer. They don't seem to want to delay any further. I think that is a smart call. Gonna let HQ have this.
And Cowman, that Dragon Blade, that's what we wanted to see on Numbani. That's what we wanted to see on Ilios as well. In fact, no, I don't even know that he ran Genji on Numbani. So no, we didn't want to see that on Numbani. Or maybe we did. We wanted to see
maybe that was what went
maybe
wrong.
that is what was missing on Numbani. We needed more damage from Cowman. He did it here. They get that first cap. Atar changes off the Ana, does go onto the Soldier. So kind of like I said, because Ato was the one playing Ana, he does get to flex back onto his DPS pick and a nice CC combo onto Kiki's mech.
The sleep is good, but a good reaction as well to throw out the self-destruct means it's a little bit harder to close out on the pilot there as they start to open it up. Dizzy does trade back onto Atar and Gun, but that is very big for them. No EMP available for them now, and Dizzy will have free reign if he so chooses, but he is forced back a little bit, has to respect the damage, and Blank answered back with a couple more. AHQ are just going to have to go ahead and back up.
It was a commit out of HQ as well because they used 2 ultimates there. So for 2 ultimates, unfortunately, they couldn't get any progress. And it was late ultimates. It was ultimates after members had already died. Good opening on Kiki's mech, but everything after that looked a little bit troublesome. Realistically, the 2 kills that Dizzy got didn't give them any mileage. No progress on the cap, and that's what counts at the end of the day. That's what AHQ really need to focus on.
They do have a good run of ultimates again here, but they're fighting into this EMP, and Blank should be able to keep that EMP up at pretty much all times now.
Well, AHQ did play against the EMP pretty well in the first cap. There's a lot less room to maneuver around on the second cap, though. Gumbo already in position to get this one through, just waiting for the call from his team. A really big EMP would be absolutely devastating.
Oh dear, Cowman in trouble.
Exactly, he was already low.
And very quick movement as well by Kiki to try and run him down. He does retreat successfully, but it does burn a little bit of time. Not much, but every second counts. Now they look to go aggressive. The EMP is out as they try and shut down Lazy Titan first. They don't want to deal with the whole hog. And despite that sound barrier, they're still able to do it. Now the collapse to come in, and HQ is surrounded. Cowman's going to commit, but it's too late anyway. Even as he does get 2 kills, it just doesn't matter. The fight is as good as done, and they just kind of throw ultimates to the wind.
And this is AHQ, the second push in a row on the second cap where they are committing ultimates after they're severely behind in fights. And on Assault, particularly on the second cap as well, these kills that AHQ get on the attack are just not as good as the return kills that Blank get, because 1-for-1 is not a good enough trade for AHQ to sort of rely on. They need a lot more here. EMP almost back up for Gumbo again. I don't actually think that initial EMP from Gumbo that we saw was super amazing. It got Lazy Titan, but beyond that, it looked like Cowman was kind of unaffected. The hack onto Dizzy later on was actually a lot more useful for them.
Absolutely was. Now out of the defense, they still have the CMP available, going right in for it. There we go. Once again catching Lazy Titan. The ultimate was committed there, but it got shut down because of it. Atar going to have to open up with this tactical visor, but he's caught off to the side by Erican, who will be able to close out the kill. Now Kiki going to try and create space with the self-destruct, just barely able to stay alive during that. There's the sticky though to close him out of the mech, and it looks like they're going to be able to get themselves all over this one. The response kills haven't come through just yet.
Done again.
Trill, yeah, put to sleep, and then put to sleep in the other sense of the word. Lazy Titan does get answered back, and they train down Crappy as well. The respawns may just start to come through here for Blank. Atar Eat You Up, despite not having tanks, was somehow given more room to maneuver than they ever should have got. AHQ not even getting a third out of that as they have to go and retreat. That is absolutely heartbreaking.
That's disastrous because AHQ started off that fight better than any fight they've taken on the second cap so far. EMP came out, no kills for Blank. In fact, 2 kills are traded. AHQ got them in their favor instead. Gunbo died as collateral in the middle of all that as well. So did Atar. So kind of all these big factors for Blank just taken out super early, but then AHQ couldn't clean it up. No progress is the worst part. You would have expected at least 1 tick.
They go ahead and commit the nano boost onto Cowman, but he can't really find anyone. The first person he sees is Trill, and now Trill opening up with his own ultimate. They're just kind of cutting off AHQ, able to close out an Erica. The only thing they've lost so far is the mech out of Kiki. They do lose Eat You Up, but look, even trades aren't good enough for AHQ. You have to get clean wipes. They're not even in position to get a third here. Dizzy's getting absolutely muscled out on the backside here. We'll get Atar, but the sticky goes wide now. The respawns will start to come through for Blank. AHQ have just enough members on the point that they may be able to get a third, but even then, it's looking a little bit difficult. The respawns starting to come through for Blank, but they are getting taken out as they come into the point. There we go. The sound barrier buys them just enough time to bring Atar back out into the fray. Kiki now wrapping around the side. They open up with the tactical visor. They just barely keep the Winston off the backside for long enough, and they're able to start to beat AHQ back from this point, picking Erican as well. Lazy Titan forced out, may even lose his life, as is Cowman, and they hold again.
And eventually the respawners come into effect for Blank in a big way, not even 1/3. That was the closest they've had to getting that 1/3, but getting close is not good enough. We're under 1 minute already. AHQ have had some massive commits and some very good openings in these fights, but they can never close it up. They can never snowball these fights hard enough that they reset Blank completely. And Gumbo was actually a big factor in that last fight. He cleaned up Dizzy himself. He got the kills. He didn't die. and now he's back with an EMP, so still a very dangerous push for AHQ to go into, and no time either.
I've seen very few Sombras have this much effect as a DPS, by the way. He's actually doing a really good job, you're right, of keeping these people in lockdown on the side, doing a really good job of kind of outflanking.
And just the hacks on the side as well, he's managing to get Cowman and Dizzy, which are very important targets. Speaking of important targets, Cowman looking for one for the second time in a row.
This is
unable
terrible.
to find one.
All dressed up and nowhere to go as the EMP is absolutely huge. With it, they shut out the entire squad, and now Cowman, again, he's got nowhere to go. He's the last man alive on the point and will be the last one to die on the point as AHQ get completely repelled. No third for you, no sir. They put their blank shirt on, and now blank, they want to put their AHQ shirt on and try and take this one on the offense.
And the gong sounds the defeat bells for AHQ on that attack. Now only defense remains. Blank, they can nearly get this. They smell it. They can see it. 3-0 is in their sights. They've been 3-0 by these teams for so long. To get one back would mean so much for this team. And AHQ, I gotta say, look a little bit defeated here. They look like they need to pull one through, and it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, they know that they either have to hold this first point altogether if they want to win this outright, or the other option is to hold the second point, not give over a third to blank and force it to a tiebreaker. That is a very real possibility. We do know that blank actually struggles to do that. I mentioned that myself. And AHQ can feel confident on that defense on the second point, and heck, even to an extent on the first point. They've first held teams on Volskaya before, but it is still a very tall ask.
They have also first held teams on Numbani before, and Blank have gone past that. Blank are now looking to break away from all curses set upon them. This has so far been a very fantastic run for Blank. Even if we go to fourth map here, this has been one of the best assaults Blank have played so far. Usually they do not get that kind of a defense. A full holdout against AHQ.
And it looked convincing.
It's a big change.
It was a good holdout. It wasn't ropey. It wasn't, really. It wasn't super clutch at every single fight. There were a couple of clutch moments in one or two fights, but I mean, when it is the big protracted fight where everyone throws ultimates at the line, that does sort of happen at times. And I think the thing that has to be said there is, when they were relying on that respawn advantage to kind of tide them through, actually, it did work. They were able to leverage it. They were able to stay alive through it. AHQ weren't able to close out, and that is still good play by Blank. It's not luck or anything like that. It is just good play.
Blank make their own luck here, find their own opportunities, pulling on the strings of AHQ here to try and get themselves this win. The initial attack now coming through for Blank. Soldier for ATAR, no surprises, except we're definitely not going to run that Widowmaker.
Yeah, no Soldier still for Dizzy, and they're going to commit to the Sombra as well.
So this is a composition that AHQ have been still trying out, and Kalman's been on and off this game. Sometimes he gets a good Dragon Blade, most of the time, unfortunately, he doesn't. Still going to stick onto that Genji, though. This is going to be a wraparound play from Blank, losing members to AHQ. They knew that was going to happen. They laid the trap out, and they jump on Blank.
That was really well set up by them. Now Dizzy, he's just kind of harassing everyone stuck in this room now.
Well, they still got to clean up the kills, though. A good pulse bomb might make the difference.
And it does.
The worst thing about this for Blank is that there's a lot of delayed kills here, so they're really disconnected. You see ATAR and RQT as the first members that die. They've already respawned. They now have to wait for these other members that die as also. In terms of time, very good for AHQ. They bought a decent amount of time there. And also Ultimate's charge while all 6 members went down one way or the other.
They do have the EMP coming up in a moment for this fight now as well, so Blank will be having to fight through that. The window, as it were, is shut.
For a time, there it is. Yep, the final little bit of the glass just closes down. EMP now coming from the backside.
Straight in, right into the room. Now they're looking to close it out. Oh, quick kill onto him, though. They get the trade back onto Gunber. They do need to shut down small members. There we go. Picking ATAR is a key one for them. They do lose Lazy Titan's mech, but Blank, they're only just able to get out of this room, and they don't really have DPS to follow it up. It's all going to be eat you up if it's anyone at all. Trilla's going to go ahead and buy time by ulting on the point, but the self-destruct out of out of Kiki. Off the side. What's that? Did the throw out of the mech kill Dizzy? That's not the self-destruct symbol. In any case, Cowman tries to open up, does catch EQ up, but Trill takes him out anyway. Erikin,
nice
though, trades back onto his counterpart. Now Blank have just kind of thrown a whole bunch of ultimates at the point. Atar runs in, finds Gorilla behind him. They're going to commit a nano boost onto him as well. The ultimate out of Erikin does end. This may actually just work for them. I don't believe it. This is very last minute. I thought they were just going to back off and, throw all their ultimates away and lick their wounds a little, but they may just be able to hold this.
Yeah, Blank are going to be able to surely cap this one now. Not if Erikin has anything to say about it. There are final nano boost contest. Sound barrier.
Yeah, they're trying to stop it up as best as they can, but they close out on Dizzy already. If all Erikin finds here is the healers, it's not good enough, but he doesn't even find that. Gets forced back. The boop is great and gives even more space for Atar to pump shots into the Gorilla. And there we go. Now they're going to go ahead and aggress on the second point, having actually set up a really great snowball for themselves. They're going to try and gun for it before Crappy and Keras are even back in this. This is so huge. Their health packs aren't set up. They have a huge opportunity. Atar has a visor. They're going to go for it. They only have to get a third here. They catch Lazy Titan as he's out of the mech. No one dies to the self-destruct.
EMP.
And they're already forced off to the side. The EMP is going to have to be huge because they've already lost Dizzy. Cowman's pressured. He barely gets the health pack. Erikin's forced to ult. The EMP does connect, but they're not converting it into kills. No one's pressured enough. They may just get Atar, but that's all they've got so far. The trade back is there for Erikin. AHQ is now just relying on respawns, and Cowman is struggling to stay alive. This is now the self-destruct out of Kiki. Forces the space, and he gets a kill on Lazy Titan with it. Cowman at last opening up, but the first target he finds is the Diva, and he can't find anyone else. He gets shut down. Dizzy's in trouble. Will he even get out of this alive? The sound barrier for Blank again, and all they need to get is this third. AHQ are making it as hard as possible, but Blank are still on top of this fight.
And Dizzy's still got something to say about that. Their pulse bomb, it does connect onto somebody.
Oh,
that was
that's the other pulse bomb, and he got Lazy Titan's mech too. He just kind of rode it through the whole team, and that wipe is going to spell the end of it. Blank, in a protracted but very well coordinated push, are going to cap that second point out. And maybe it is true now that Assault is no longer a weakness either, because had that needed to go to all 3/3, they could have absolutely done it off that push. That was monumental.
Very well timed from Blank there for AHQ. Didn't even have time to set up, like you said. Kept the Sombra, didn't even get the health packs up. EMP came through at the final moments, but you need members. You need to actually be able to get some distance and some damage follow-up there. This is now going to be one of EDUP's plays, and I believe it is on... this is on Blank's attack, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not even the pulse bomb at the very end, actually. This was on their defense, if I'm not mistaken. You saw Atar take a dive there at one point. That didn't quite happen on the offense.
Yeah,
that would have kind of spelled disaster.
That's probably a good observation there. Another good observation is someone dying to a Diva mech eject, which is I haven't seen that
I've
before.
never seen that before.
When you call down the mech to get back into it, it does do a little AoE around it.
That's
and
what it
fact, you can deflect it as Genji.
Deflect what the
You
mech?
can deflect the
AoE
damage from the mech when she calls it back. I've seen it happen, and
so
it
I assumed that was deflect the mech and just like right back up you go.
Genji gets into the mech.
So I tell you what that would have been is Dizzy would have actually been close up, trying to go for a melee attack to close out a kill, because I actually saw just as that was coming in, Kiki was extremely low, so that would have been why Dizzy was there. So he would have been equally low, trying to close out the kill before the mech arrived, while there was that moment that Kiki couldn't use the quick melee. Like that is fraction of a second. That is so uncanny, man. What an absurd situation to find yourself in as Dizzy.
And this is one of the few moments you get to see those kind of kills as well. I mean, you just never really.
I've never seen that before. Not ever.
I don't even see that in pub gameplay. I don't see that in quick play or anything like that either. So it is just one of the few rare things about this game. And now one of the few rare things about this game is AHQ currently so far down 0-3. We did not expect this kind of result, and maybe people did because Blank looked so good against Flash Wolves. AHQ, look, they struggled against Flash Wolves, and this is the weakest AHQ have ever looked.
This is the return. It is absolutely the return for Blank. I mean, you remember the first time they lost to AHQ. It did actually go to a Game 5. It was a very grueling series for both teams, and I almost expected something like this, even if it resulted, something like that rather, even if this here resulted in a loss for AHQ. I expected, a 5-game fight to the death, this absolute no holds barred kind of affair. But actually the first Ilios was a complete shutout. Numbani was a good bit closer, I will concede, but even so, AHQ just kind of failed to get it over the line, and I felt like AHQ's execution, when it really counted, was consistently falling short of the mark compared to Blank, and the counterpoint to that is the same was true for Blank against Flash Wolves yesterday. We have now a very, very clear indicator of where these three teams stand.
Well, let's, speaking of that indicator, this is the indication we're looking for. Let's take a look at the leaderboards now updated with Blank taking over the lead, 18-5 over their counterparts, 18-6 for AHQ Esports Club, and Blank are looking set to even go one step further, make it 19-5 for the evening, as they have Machi Esports coming up as well. And if AHQ just went down 0-3, you must be quaking in your boots if you're Machi.
And also if you're Machi, and indeed if you're Hong Kong Attitude or anyone below, with Blank picking up that win, you have been mathematically eliminated from playoffs. So there you have your three playoffs teams. Everything beyond that is now jostling for points, jostling for position, trying to secure 4th place instead of 5th. It's that extra bit of prize money in the pocket, and dare I say, the extra bit of glory and pride.
Just going to be extremely important for those other teams, but you know, where it basically stands down the last round robin is you have 1, 2, and 3 set in stone, I would say, unless something happens for the rest of the round robin where Blank would have to drop games to other teams outside of the top 3. Machi might be one of them, but it's hard to say because after that performance, I don't see that happening at all.
And they play Machi next.
Basically says that Flash will now secure that #1 spot directly into the grand finals, and Blank are going to have to play AHQ again in that semi to decide who gets to play Flash Wolves in the final when we get to the playoffs, though. But still, 2 more weeks of competition to make sure that those standings are the way are going to be finalized, with Flash Wolves in first, Blank second, AHQ in the 3rd position, and of course, who is going to be in the positions from 4th to 8th going into the end of the final round robin, and are Sun Sister going to pick up that win?
I'll be honest, I think if any of those 3 playoffs teams is going to take losses outside of that top 3 from here on out, it's actually AHQ. Because they are the team to have most recently done exactly that against Hong Kong Attitude. They now have to be very careful when they face Hong Kong Attitude again this round robin, and actually now when they come up against Machi in this round robin. You don't want to just barely scrape into playoffs based on points, having lost to the 4th and 5th place teams beforehand. That does not bode well for you. That is not grand final material.
Yeah, I mean, AHQ, they might have had a fantastic run in the 2nd round robin, but come playoffs time, you're only as good as your latest performance, and their latest performances are not looking too great. I mean, sure, it's against Flash Wolves and Blank, but those are the teams that you're going to be playing. So over the next 2 weeks, we'll see how they fare against these other teams.
Let's take a look at this. It's a player of the game. It is I Eat You Up on the Tracer. Fantastic performance from him today. One of the few members there. I would have actually also said, look, Atar really stepped up for me as well. So one of the other key players from Blank really setting the tone for their victory 3-0. And like we've already said, AHQ now on that 3rd place. The good news for AHQ is even if they do lose, they can't drop out of the top 3 whatsoever. They are safe. They are going to go to playoffs, but it is not looking pretty. Blank, however, are looking set to really challenge Flash Wolves once we get to the playoff stage.
That, I would say, is very much the case. And I suppose the good thing for AHQ is they can focus on fixing whatever's going wrong right now without the pressure of potentially losing your playoff spot. But there is the pressure of having to fix that mistake, and it is more so than ever before. They have a very tight window now, only about 2 weeks before they must fix all problems, or they will just lose to Blank again in the semis.
And something that we've sort of applauded AHQ for in the past is, although they weren't very versatile, they had mastered at least one playstyle, one composition, one sort of one strength that they had that they really took advantage of. Now it kind of looks like they don't necessarily have that strength anymore. They have versatility instead. They got that horizontal plane out, but nothing in that horizontal plane looks especially threatening. Not at least on the sort of front if we're looking at the top 3 teams. Against the other teams in the competition, still fairly good, but let's have a quick word in the interview post-match with Serenity of the winning team, which I'll be translating over as well.
大家好。
好，第一个问题呢，其实要来问的是，说在废墟的时候，其实 AHQ 出害影的时候，你觉得他们的效果如何？
So AHQ played Sombra today. What do you think about that?
也有遇到一些队伍，就是专长，就是特别在很多不同的点使用害影。在废墟的时候
We faced a lot of teams
我们对他们有一个针对的方案。
playing Sombra in different
我们没有成功的真下，就是在害影把大补包害掉之前就先到点。 但是因为 IEU 的那个多米发威，就直接让我们第一场
because IEU sniped down
就没有起到
Sombra straight away on Ilios.
的害影那个补包的效果。
We didn't really have to deal with it too much.
在面对 HQ 的时候，会不会下意识就觉得说，他们会出平推阵？
因为我们对上 HQ 已经输过2次在努曼。
So we've lost AHQ twice already.
第一点进攻全都是选平推阵的时候，我们有讨论说他们
And
是
they've
否用
played
平推阵。
mainly the same
但是计划如果
propositions.
他们用平推阵的话，我们出小美的话就可以把他们阵型直接那个切割开来。但是我们想
We
说
were considering running
在
May on Numbani
过
as well to sort of counter out
所以我们还是以我们
AHQ.
训练过的阵型，就是以那个
We decided to go back to the 2-2-2 that we've been
也
practicing
有考虑到说他们有
so far.
上凯队。
好，从结果来看是好的啦。那其实，在今天赛前呢，我们就不要问那么严肃的问题啦。在赛前的时候，他们说希望你们可以早点回家。那现
So
在
HQ
就是
said
现在站在舞台上
they'd
接受访
hope
问
that
的
you could go
是
home a
你
bit
哦
earlier today.
我不想要听到官方说法，有没有什么话想要回应他？
Did you want to have any
自卫
response to
HQ 这
that?
次回去的时候不要塞车。
不要塞车是吧？哇，有
They're
点火
saying,
药
well,
哎呀
AHQ,
好
when
了，
you
谢
go
谢
home today,
Serenity接
hopefully
受
you
我们
don't
的访
speed on your
问。
way
下
back.
场比赛是由
And
Blainscore
that
继续赢的
is
Magic Esports。那在下一场
Blank
正式开始之
finishing
前呢
up their post-match interview. Maybe we will get a couch interview as well with Blank, or maybe
any
even
luck,
with
yeah.
AHQ.
I think they usually have to wait for Serenity to actually get to the couch.
Yeah, it's quite a good
before-
point.
If they are doing an interview with Blank. So.
Given that he does provide the translation, there you go. I think that is 1 minute until the interview comes.
And
up.
just a little bit of a tidbit, people are going to have to wait a little bit for this, but when we go back to, I guess we'll have to wait till the Machi match coming up, but you see the Blank home day screen that comes up. Really pay attention to Gumba's face in the middle next time. I won't spoil it for you. I won't spoil it for you, but really pay attention to that when we get back to it. And you're going to have to wait until after the interview and after the break until we get into the next match to find out what I'm talking about.
I think I may know what it is. I think there's actually 2 things that I think it may be. But
Don't spoil it, though.
Yeah, I was thinking I'm going to hold my tongue. No spoilers, no spoilers. But yeah, I just want to say, by the way, I think there was kind of this transitionary period for Blank while Gunba's beard was growing out, where they were struggling. Now it's actually looking quite formidable. It's a decent. He's like, it's fully there, and I think that's, you know, the recovery's kind of happened. Like anything, like clean shaven,
Trill
fine,
also got a haircut.
fully bearded, fine, but that in between just didn't seem to sit right.
Oh, it made all the difference at the end of the day, and should be heading into that next interview now as well. It's going to be between Coach Nitor and Coach Serenity.
我是 HQ 教练1套。
Sorry, we do have a couple of audio issues here.
谢谢。
So we should have the players, the coach audio.
我们还是让他们早点回家啊，因为我们被3-0嘛。对啊。
Nitor does say we are looking
有时候
forward to going
太
home
官
today.
腔就不好玩嘛，就来点，总是要来点不一样的，对啊。
好玩就好。
对，
Serenity said he had fun
因
too.
为其实我后来才发现，就是上台的时候才发现，哎，对，今天是 Blank 主场日。我一直以为就是今天可能就
Nitor only realized it was Blank's home day
这个
today.
梗，因为没办法，他是主场日哦，所以他怎么样都不能回家。
So he's saying even, you know, Blank can't go home yet
应该
anyway.
头痛了
Alright, so I think the question was, why did you pick the Sombra on
体
Ilios?
系其实是现在控制图蛮多地图都可以玩的啦。
就是
那就是
about,
我们也是一直在不断的在尝试一些新风格嘛。
Really wanted
毕
to
竟
go for
季
the
后赛
map
要端出来
control.
嘛，所以你小心一点。开玩笑，就是因为就是大家都认为说 HQ 其实就只会打地推，那
So people
所以
saying
地推本来
AHQ
就是
can only
它有一定的
play
优势在啊。不过地推现在的状况
push
就
comps
是
with
比
tanks.
较偏被动，所以他没有办法去做出太多主动权的事情，所以我们就是会一直尝试，不管是132或22，或是甚至加入一些害影体系，就是去强化
trying a
多一
lot
点
of
队伍
different
的元素啦。不过就是今天主要是
compositions,
第一
bringing
单
up a lot of
端
different
出来的时候
compositions
对方
for
一定会有
HQ.
点吓一跳。OK，
We're trying to bring out a surprise
因
as
为我
well.
们今天走位是有点失误，我更吓一跳，因为我发现我们的汉影第一波走位就失误了，直接被 IG up 狙掉，
And
所
it
以
was
我
really
更吓一跳。
unfortunate
我想说
because
哇，怎么
we wanted to
练
scare
都没
Blank,
有这
but
种状况
I actually got
练
more
比赛
scared
中然后
because
走位各种
suddenly our
失误
Sombra died instantly, so
被
I got a
狙
bit
掉
of a fright.
有点出其不意，但是我们知道说 Carry 就是一个汉影的选手，所以
So
他
we-
上场然后不是 AD Boss 的话是有点想法了。但
We
是
did know
也不
that
确定
Carries does
所以
play Sombra as
我
well.
们在团练的时候也有几支队伍就特别就喜欢很多不同点不同的地图都
We
用
have scrimmed
汉影。
many
然后在
teams that do
6的
play
飞行图
Sombra
里面
on
遇到过，所以我们也有
very different
不同的
maps,
针对
a
的
lot of
方
variety
案
maps.
今天没有特别说那个做到针对的事情，就是因为温斯顿他的跳跃那个冷却时间很短，然后他跳的距离跟速度都很快， 所以他会比汉影先到大补包。
So our
所以
Winston
如果
can
我
get
们
to the
是
health pack
完全
before
100%
Sombra
确定对方会出汉影的话，
due to
温斯顿会是先
speed
去
boost plus
针对那个大补包
jump
做防守。
pack cooldown.
然后如果汉影没有办法害到那个大补包的话，我们就可以。
And if we can prevent the Sombra from hacking the first big health
发
pack,
挥的空间。
then we can deny the Sombra out with our
对，
Winston.
因为其实每一个队伍去解害的方式都不太一样。
So
像我
every
们如果遇到
team
对方出害
has
的话
different
我们打法
methods of dealing with
是不太一
Sombra.
样因为其实闪光会比温斯顿更快到，
So
就是
Trace is even
闪光
quicker
也有
than
闪
Sombra
光
to
去
get to a health
牵制
pack.
对方害你的方法，所以其实大方向是一样的，只是真的是比速度而已啊，对，只是比速度而已，对。
So speed makes a big difference here.
比较特别的问题，可以跟我们大家分享吗？是有趣的事情也可以，或者是遇过什么很离奇的、很不开心的、很开心的什么，大家都可以跟我们大家
Do you
分
have
享
any
一
sort
下。
of happier moments or really
这
interesting moments?
次我担任教练的话，算是第一次担任教练。以前我
This is my first time
以前我
coaching.
在英雄联盟的时候担任是队长，也是主抠，所以有一些
When I used to
带领
play,
那个就带领
I was
队
the
的一
main caller as
些
well.
经验。但是实际上当教练的话，这是第一次，
So it's,
所以有很多一些那个难懂，就是如
so it's
何
been
教
a
导
very
选手
interesting
如何
learning
如何知道
experience
他们
as a
的
first-time coach.
问题的话，我还是会有些困难，但是大致的那个分析或是选手的方面的话，我都做得不错。然后现在我是就是以前的话，我教导的方面就是以我个人，我觉得我如何学习，我是这样子教导他们的，觉得说他们其实每一个人学习的方法都不一样。
So everyone sort of
现在
learns kind of
是针
differently
对
in the
他们
team.
自己喜欢怎么学习。
So I kind of just enable every player to sort of learn the game their
担
way.
任 Blink Esports 的教练，一直以来学到，就算是一个经验谈啦。哇，那 Nito 这边也是非常经验丰富的教练。
So
要不要
Nito,
跟我
you're
们
a
大家
very
分享一下
experienced coach.
其实我也是第一次当教练，
也是第一次
This
当
is
教
actually
练
my first time
Overwatch
coaching as well
教练。
in
OK
Overwatch.
OK。
对啊，因为其实就之前有些带队经验嘛，那
没错
I've
最
got
主要是
experience
其实大家
from
都知道说
other games.
其实我一开始当教练的时候，我是没有玩 Overwatch 的，
哦
就是
So when I started
我是
coaching
一个正规
HQ,
射击游戏的教练。
I didn't come from Overwatch
那
myself.
其实这两个游戏大体虽然说风格元素是不太一样的，但是其实大方向概念是一样的，因为选手。
So games that
应该
did
是
come
说
from
我 也许
were
我没
kind
办
of
法
similar.
给选手操作上面的一些建议。
OK
可是因为毕竟我们有时候看一些像例如欧圈的比赛、Apex 联赛，
So
或
we
是
do
到
watch
了
quite a bit of
比赛
Apex
我
as
们都
well,
可以看到
the
一些
Korean teams.
打法概念跟一些操作或是一些技巧。那这些东西一定都是由后勤来做的嘛，因为选手自己去看当然好，可是我会更希望我的选手是多花一点时间在操作上面。
So I do spend a lot of time with my
我的部分就
team
是
to really
我发挥
study
我最
other
大的
teams
价
as
值，
well.
就是因为我觉得一个很强的后勤绝对要有很多想象力。例如可能就是例如像132战术嘛，打法
没错
，22打法一定有很多不同风格。那
There's
你
a
要
lot
如何
of
去
you
找
really have to
让
study
更
the
适合
different
你的
ways to
风格
play
然
these
后去
two
创新一
different
些
compositions.
新的打法、新的概念。
It takes a lot of research
因
outside
为
the
其
game
实
to do
像
that.
早期比较早打的时候，汉影体系其实是没有的。
没错
那这个也是我觉得应该最早应该是从韩国人开始的啦。那我不否认，就韩国人的头脑是真的厉害。
So
所
it
以他
did
们
it
既
did
然
look
别人
like
有办法
Sombra.
一直去精进一
The
些
Sombra
新的
composition
阵
did
型
start
新的打法
from the
例如
Korean scene.
和尚天使跟狙击嘛，他们也研发出来这种打法。那其实
And they've been
还有
very
很多角色
innovative for a
如果
lot of different sort of
应该说，如果我们
new
手上的
composition
选手
strategies
角
coming
色
out.
词够多的话，有像例如好，我们所谓XQ 是最喜欢的炸弹鼠。
炸弹
如果说今天我们这有一个是完全 man 炸弹鼠的，你为他量身定做一套打法或是风格，其实我觉得也是很厉害
也。是有机会可以，也是有办法办到的，就对了。
对没错
我刚刚 Nito 有提到一个点，我也是感同身受，就是他说他希望他的队就是后勤可以帮他做战术上的分析，那希望选手可以主要 focus 在操作上面。其实我一直都觉得说，操作是一个教练最难教一个选手的。你跟他讲说，你这边要射到啊，是不可能的，就是他今天没射到，就是没有射到，对不对？
It does seem like the coach is saying every
不可能
team
因为你的一句
player should
话
be focusing on their own mechanics, and that's something that is difficult for the coaches to be able to teach the players as well.
一直不断的练习，不断的练习，然后肌肉去习惯那个感觉，才有可能
Really
实现
working
他的这个
on
能力
the muscle
因
memory
为主要
mechanics
来
as
说的
well.
话，教练或者后勤都只能给选手一个大方向跟意识
没错，
跟概念，因为这个游戏其实我觉得 Overwatch 最迷人
You're
的
just
地方就
saying
是它的
in Overwatch so
概
far,
念是多千变万化的。
the coach's
最关键的
那但是
biggest
回归到
role
原
is to
点
really
你的
look at the
单兵操作
overall
如果
gameplay.
不够强，你就是没有办法去执行到执行面的东西。即使你的策略面是非常非常强的，可是你的执行面执行不到，单兵被人家简单讲，可能对方可能随便
射都射不赢
出几个角色就把你碾压了，你什么东西都打不出来的情况下是没有办法去完成我
So
们
it
想
may be
要的画
difficult
面
to really look at some of the real
这样的话
minor
的确有
details
点
in the
尴尬
game
那我这边
as
也有
well.
一个
So
问题想要问 Serenity 哦，就是 其实，在你们之前的比赛在对上 AHQ 的时候是被3-0嘛。
So you've
那就
lost
在
to
这么
AHQ
短的
0-3
时间内，
before,
你们是做出了什么
but in a really short amount of time, you've made a big turnaround.
一瞬间从被3-0到把对方3-0呢？
And now you've come in 3-0 to
我们
HQ.
做一些就是态度上改变，还有就是一些观念的一些教导。通常的话，因为我们就是在教导的方面，因为我毕竟是新人，我也是从选手转职到教练的部分。
没错。
但是我有一点比较特别的地方，就是因为我玩过很多不同的
So I'm a player turned
都有
coach.
接近职业的水准，比如说
So I'm
星海争霸
really
CS
relying on my experience as a
然后
player
英雄
to
联盟呢，现
help
在
the
斗
team.
阵特工，然后我个人的实力也都很高，像我现在这一季那个斗阵特工，我积分就有到4400分。
哇，
所以说，如
4400
果
分。
对于
So I've-
选手的一些那个英雄的操作的话，
I think I heard that correctly because I think I've reached 4,400 SR later before as well.
在来台湾就没有什么后勤，也是由我跟就是队伍上的一些人处理，就是冈本跟 RQ 这两个我们来。
So I work a lot
一起
with
讨
Gumber
论
and RKT.
然后我们就是做了一些
to work on the team.
讨论跟一些分析，然后大致
We do a
有
lot of
一个大
research
方向
together as well.
然后再教导我们的选手。
And then after we've done that
的一些
research,
概念
we
的话就是我们这
relay it to the rest of the team members and work together on
刚
that.
刚有提到一个点，我蛮感兴趣的，就是说你说你们的队伍有这个态度上的转变，可以跟我们就是聊一下，说态度上的转变是怎么样子的改变呢？
就是从一开始来的时候，大家还都不太
So
适应说当职业选手的一些地方，就比如说需要几点起床，几点练习。
So when we first came to Taiwan, a lot of the players weren't really used to and didn't know what was required from professional gaming side, like what time to wake up, what time to have their meals, what time to practice.
6个小时的话就散了。但是现在就变成说因为大家都有一个共同的目标，现在真的是一个团体。
So now we have much clearer goals,
共同目标
much clearer schedules as well.
越来越有凝
It's
聚
more
力
organized in general.
真的是听起来真的是非常非常的棒哦，而且我相信 AHQ 这边在今天输掉了比赛之后，应该回去也会有所调整跟改变吧。
So even for AHQ, you're probably going to go home today and
我
review
们应
your
该2
match.
个礼拜前我们就一直在调整
就开，始
因为毕
So
竟
we've been working on the
其实
team
我大家都认为
in a sort of different
HQ
way
强
for the last
地
2
推
weeks.
对，因为我们地推的细节是比较多啦，就是处理的比较好，没错。可是因为毕竟地推这种队伍就是被动型的队伍，所以
A lot of
他没有
teams
办法
kind of
去
look at us as a
掌握
strong
比赛的
pushing
主导
team.
权，因为地推要赢刺客、赢三输出或是赢远近阵，永远都是建立在对方失误，或是对方进来打的时候，我们是被动的嘛，我们被动细节处理好，我们杀到人，我们才有机会反咬。可是我们永远没有主动开战，
没有主动
So
因为在
we're
地推来说
usually we're a good
不强的原因是因为
reactionary team where
他
we
没有
react to
主动
situations
权
quite well,
那我
but
们
we
其实
haven't
已经
been so good at
陆续地调整
initiating
那现阶
ourselves
段就是
in a
其实
lot
都
of
一定会有个
situations.
过渡期，就是像当初闪电狼在 Meta 当初输马吉跟输我们那个礼拜的时候，他们是有一个转变期嘛，
对没错
然后他们
没错
现在就是找到了一个非常适合他们的 Meta。
So when we lost to
那
when we lost
其
to
实我觉
Machi,
得
when
Breaker
we
在早
lost
期
to
也是一
so
样
when we lost
他
to
们的
Flash
2-2其实
Wolves,
非常非常强。那当时他们也是因为就是
when Flash Wolves lost to Machi as well, that
那
was
其实
then
大家
when
都
they
知道
were really
1-3-2 这
trying
个
things
是
out. So
厉害的
that's kind of where
可是
we're
他
at
必
as
须
well.
要
We're at a
去
stage
尝
where
试
we are
要去
trying
找
different
那我
things
觉得
out.
刚你有说到你不是4400分吗？我记得你是射手位的嘛，那你有没有考虑把 key 换下来？
So I remember you said you're 4400 SR.
去玩射手位
You play flex tank. Have you considered replacing Kiki
没有
yourself?
开玩笑，我跟他挑拨对。那我觉得
I'm
最
just
主要是
joking.
1-3-2这个阵型其实非常有趣，可是我自己心中还是觉得就是2-2才是最强的，因为
I think
我
right
觉得
now
一个
2-2-2 is the
体系的一个
strongest.
打法，能攻能守
composition
又有主动权的这种东西才是最强的，因为1-3-2就是破坏力非常非常
1-3-2
强。
就是攻击点满，防御力完全没有的那
So
种。
triple
防御
DPS
是
is
只能靠和尚的
Really-
大招跟陆秀招去保，但是
really
如果你没
strong
有大招的情
for
况下你要
initiating a
如何去
play
救
with a lot of damage,
尤其是
but defensively not so good.
我觉得啊，我就这样讲，像 IG Up 跟培根这种 S 级的闪光来了，粘一个就炸就没了。那
对，
So
人叫我不出低吧吗？
From
我
good-
一定得出低吧，因为
from-
我们的低
from
吧
good
有机会
players
吸到
like
他的
Bacon
炸
Jack
我们可以也许让这一
and
波
eat
可
up
以继续往后发展。
one pulse
可是
bomb
如
can
果说他每
really
一波闪光极大又快，他夹过来
really
炸一个
take apart our team. So
再等
we
15
have to
秒
run
出去
a
他可能
diva
破个
just to
到一
deal
半
with
打到一
players
半
like that.
他又炸
他又过来了
对，然后我们人又被炸了，哦，我们又尴尬了，然后又被他充能，然后我们下一波又要被炸，所以这个我自己认为1-3-2就是他还是有他的问题在了，但是我还是觉得就是每个队伍都是一直持续精进自己，去尝试新的风格、新的体系。
Every
我觉得
team
才
sort
会
of
有
trying
在
to find a composition that
跨一步
works
的
for
感
them.
觉。
没错，那这个东西的确是非常重要。那我们今天真的非常感谢可以邀请到2位教练来这边接受我们的采访啊。那我们这边采访差不多告一个段落。好，
Well,
拜拜。
that is thoughts from both Serenity and Nito going into that. So there you have it.
Yeah.
HU going to take an early ride home. Blank going to stick around for their next match as well. Looking better than ever. AHQ are sort of saying that one of the big takeaway I got out of that interview was AHQ are sort of in the same space that they think that Flash Wolves were when they lost to Machi in the second round robin, trying to figure out where they need to be in this current meta.
Which I think is a convenient excuse.
But it's exactly what it feels like, though. That's exactly
I wouldn't
get.
call it an excuse. I would say
I'm just joking. I'm not.
I would say it's very accurate. I would say
Yeah.
he'd be quite a realist to be able to understand a situation like that. But Machi will be facing up against Blank right after this break when we come back. So a couple of things to look forward to there as we continue Blank's home day. They've already been AHQ, and soon maybe they'll pick up another win as well. We'll see you right after this.